Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomping. This the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomping. This the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomping. This the clash of the titans. In a dimension where infinity gauntlet is a mere toy compared to intellectual prowess. Build and destroy.
Decipher, intellectual soul will slice ya, or whatever device ya. Recommend surgical, precise pen, hand heated, the room will spin. If men get treated, them goons gon' spin. Level heads with feet, paradigm to box you in. Got a pair of dimes in the box you in. Don't matter, paradigm, pair of nines, and your clock won't spin.
Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down and lay down when we stomping. It's the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down and lay down when we stomping. It's the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down and lay down when we stomping. It's the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down and lay down when we stomping. It's the clash of the trumpets. Hear the sounds of the trumpets, start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomping. This the clash of the trumpets.
Zion been learning from us, sneakily watching our videos. I don't know about anything you guys do. I'm not watching y'all. I got all of y'all blocked, even though some of y'all actually made fake pages to make sure you could see what I'm doing. That's another level of the Diddy party. That's crazy. That's diabolical. That's insane. Y'all gotta stop. It's crazy. Y'all need mental therapy and help. There's nobody in the community that I could form an obsession with that I'm having to chase behind them for years because we need to have a conversation. We need to talk. Some of y'all are real weirdos, is what I gotta say. Some of y'all are real weirdos, is what I have to say. So on that note, he went on to say that Zion is now learning proper Hebrew, even though, by the way, the name of the video, and I'm going to throw them a little, views, because the video he showed, I think it got like 17 views, and it's been up for 24 hours. I would hope that your own members watched it more than twice. There's a couple of y'all. Your own people don't even mess with you. How you got less than 100 views in 24 hours? And you got a whole community behind you, so to speak. Your own people is telling you that they don't mess with you, by the way. I just want to let you know that. So I didn't intend on doing this, but I'm kind of in this spirit right now where I'm feeling to give somebody the sword, pause, chop somebody down a little bit, because the way I'm going to deal with Shah Ariala is going to be a little different. again, the energy that I give people is reflective of the energy that they gave me. And Shah Ariala did not disrespect me. So I'm going to be very, very respectful. I got both gloves on. I haven't taken any gloves off. But nonetheless, I'm still fearless. I'm still bold. I'm still coming to do what I have to do. On that note, I'm going to remind everyone, y'all heard me say it time and time again, everyone, that the link to join the live stream is in the chat. If there's someone out there and their mama I'm playing that's feeling froggy, join the live stream. I will happily add you to the stage. Please, tonight I'm your Huckleberry Finn. On that note, let's get back to the presentation. So the good brother Shah Ariala, he decided that he would step out, jump out, and have something to say. And, you know, I wasn't banking that he would. In fact, apart from his videos where he is touted as exposing Guerrilla Hebrew, I'm actually completely unfamiliar with him and his work. I've gotten to a stage in my learning where I really block out a lot of the teachers, so-called, in the Israelite community. I don't really watch what any of them do. I have my own academic online institution. I have my own community and my own circle. I don't watch videos from a lot of Israelite communities, leaders, and teachers, to be brutally honest. So unfortunately, prior to his response video, the only awareness that I have of him is that, you know, he's the guy that helped to expose Guerrilla Hebrew, you know, and what was going on with his situation, right? And when I say expose, I don't mean that, you know, I'm joining the bandwagon to help spread information about exposing him per se, because I don't have no issues with Guerrilla Hebrew as well. But this is what the brother has been known for recently, Shah Ariala. That's the thing that he's been most known for, notably, recently, in recent news within the last year or so. So apart from that, I'm unaware of him. So I definitely didn't think that he would jump out. I was actually thinking that there would be other groups that would jump out, right? Like ISUPK, you know, I'm gonna call names, and others, but you know, they didn't. But he answered the call. He entered the chat. And because he entered the chat, let's begin right here. Thumb up the video, family, share the live stream, and don't forget to support the platform. You guys can donate at Cash App Learn Torah. That's $ Learn Torah. Our Zelle is up there. The Venmo is up there. Show love, family. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. I heard that they wanted to smoke. I'm going to smoke somebody tonight. All right. So I got a profile of Shah Ariala. Shah Ariala enters the chat. He's a teacher in the Israelite community, and he's a proponent of Lashawan Qadash. Shah Ariala is a founding member of HOB, the House of Bread, right? In Hebrew, that's Bethlehem or Beit Lechem, right? Known for promoting the Lashawan Qadash system of Hebrew pronunciation and for his active presence in public debates and teachings. He is a strong proponent of Lashawan Qadash and positions himself as a voice seeking change within the Israelite community, aiming to galvanize the younger generation against what he believes are errors or misinformation passed down by some elders in previous debates. Yeah, Shah, I did a little research on you, my guy. Did a little research on you, my boy. And I saw that on your Facebook page, you stated that, you know, the time of the old heads, and I'm paraphrasing, is pretty much done. A lot of the old heads are responsible for these false doctrines, the bad behavior, the illicit actions and thinking. So you're spearheading a movement to spark change throughout the nation, but predominantly orchestrated by the younger generation. And I have no qualms with that. I actually love that, and I salute you in that. But what I want to remind you, Shah, as an OG in the Israelite community, having 3 decades in this, 3 decades plus. This year makes 32 years. This February makes 32 years of me being in the Israelite community. So I believe I would be an OG in the community. Having said that, I want to remind you of something, Shah, that I'm sure you're aware of. The Bible says, to the youth strength and to the elders wisdom. Be very mindful that while the stagnation in the community is in part, possibly in bulk, by the older generation, remember that there's still a measure of that older generation that is securely needed to plant a sure foundation of wisdom in the minds of the youth. The youth have strength. Wisdom is not always with the youth. Very few do you see wisdom with the youth. So I want to remind you, good brother, don't forsake all the elders. Not everybody out here is moving as those that you may see and observe. Keep that in mind. His work focuses on reshaping Hebrew understanding through the One West linguistic framework, while challenging long-held teachings and inspiring a new wave of youth engagement. And listen, on that note, I want to say kudos to that brother. I have no qualms with that, except to remind you that wisdom is with the experienced. There's certain things that you don't even get as a youth, as a young man. There's certain things that literally come with having experience, with having age, with being an elder. So don't forsake all the elders, good brother, as a point of critique for you or advice. And here we go. So the good brother Abia Idonia, who is the founder of Inside the Nation Radio, after I did my presentation presenting why Yeshua is a more accurate, grammatically more accurate than saying Yahusha or certainly Yahushai, and then also going on to prove that One West Hebrew, known as Lashawan Qadash, is also very much inaccurate, based on his immediate reception, based on how I was received in the live chat. Abia went and wrote, I think we literally witnessed the death of the Lashawan Qadash last night. Wow. And he even dropped some funeral flowers. So Ariala reposts it and he shares it on his page, and he says, we most certainly did not, meaning witness the death of the Lashawan Qadash. And he goes on to say, the source used in reference to Kirbet Keyafa Astrakhan, literally in all caps, contradicts the point the brother Zion LEXX made. The author of said source is literally saying that the writing is neither Proto-Canaanite, Canaanite, nor Hebrew. Peer review and response coming. And then shortly thereafter, later on that evening, he did a response video. That was last night. I spoke with Abia and I said that although we both didn't anticipate that he would respond before our meeting on Friday, because just so everyone knows, we're coming to Inside the Nation Radio on Friday to face each other one-on-one, to have a conversation about these general topics. And I didn't think that he would respond to my video because I'm unaware of his work. And I also didn't think that once he agreed to have the discussion that, he would do a video response before we sat down. But he decided to do so. And because he decided to do so, I had to tell Abia that even though I committed to doing a video with him on Friday, that, I definitely got to come back a little earlier and share a bit, just so I can get out my presentation as well, because all is fair, right? So originally, I was a little irked by his saying that this would be a peer review. I'll share with you in a couple of moments why I was irked by that. But first, I want to define the term peer review. Peer review is an evaluation of scientific, academic, or professional work by others working in the same field. So, I'm unaware that Shah Ariala is known as a Hebrew teacher. I am aware of a lot of the Hebrew teachers in the Israelite community, even those in the One West community. I'm aware of who they are, many of their names. I was completely unaware that he is a teacher of Hebrew. And then come to find out, I was even more baffled when I learned how he actually learned Hebrew. The way in which he learned Hebrew, for me, it's challenging to regard him as my peer with respect to the language. I certainly consider him my peer with respect to being a brother in the community, but with respect to expertise, gift, and talent, and experience in the language, I wouldn't consider him my peer. And I say that with all due respect. And I think that the presentation will demonstrate so. But I think when me and him sit down on Friday, and with all due respect, I'll walk him slowly down the lion's den through the mechanics of the Hebrew language. When there's no book, you got to know what you know. You don't know what I'm going to ask you. I don't know what you're going to ask me. You just got to know what you know. When I walk him through the lion's den, we're going to then know if he knows what he say that he knows. More on that on Friday. So on that note, I found it hard to conceive of him as my peer, right? With all due respect. But before I could say that affectionately, I had to do my homework to see, well, who did he learn from? How did he learn Hebrew? And what are his Hebraic skills? So let's move on. I'm going to show a video right now of Ariala admitting how he learned Hebrew. At the 56-minute and 52-second marker of Ariala's video, Paleo Hebrew 101 with Shah Ariala, he says he learned Hebrew from watching an elder at HOD, House of David, on YouTube. I'm going to repeat that. He said he learned Hebrew from watching an elder at HOD, House of David, on YouTube, along with his own personal studies. So one thing I always say to the students in my classes is that one of the myriad of problems in the Israelite community today is that people aren't actually learning from teachers directly. People are watching Facebook, what a person posts. People are watching Instagram, the videos and posts that people make. People are watching YouTube videos. Then after about, I don't know, 3,300 hours of watching a YouTube video, I'm a teacher. After 48,000 hours of watching Hebrew videos on a YouTube platform, I'm a Moreh. After 52,086 million of hours of watching YouTube videos, I'm a leader. I'm saying that all to say, with all due respect, with all due humility, but also humor, because the people want to be edutained to some respect, right? We don't want to make this boring. That if you're telling people that you learned language from watching YouTube videos, I got to tell you that that's a horrible way of describing openly and publicly that you are learned in language or anything for that matter. I couldn't even fix my face to tell anybody that I have a specialty in any particular field because I watched several videos of it on YouTube. With that being said, let's roll that beautiful bean footage. I want everybody to listen carefully. I want everybody to catch exactly what's being said. I don't want to leave any man behind. Make sure everybody can see very clearly what's going on the screen, all right? So here we go.
Girl, that's what this means, right? That's what this means, right? When you read it in English, right? But again, in Hebrew, understand how the Hebrew language works, right? Understand just even the basics of the Hebrew grammar. You can see that this is really what it means. All right. So great point, brother. Right. So let's get back into it. Right. So we have our chart here, and this chart is available.
Fuck these needles. Stab yourself in the stomach every week, and you'll see the fat melt away along with your
in your Hebrew Israelite Bible. Right. It's like on page 3 of the Hebrew Israelite Bible. Right. So the first page, right, has a dedication to the late Elder Karatas Allah from HOD, right? HODC, House of David. I learned Hebrew from watching this brother's videos.
Huh? Wait. What you said? Did he just say he learned Hebrew from watching these brothers' videos? How, Sway? How? You mean to tell me you're a Hebrew teacher significant enough to jump out the limb and battle, disagree with openly people that are known for Hebrew in the community for decades because you've been watching this particular brother's video on YouTube, and now you're a Hebrew teacher? With all due respect, Ariala, no disrespect intended, that's crazy. That is diabolical. We're going to hear that again.
Great point, brother, right? So let's get back into it, right? So we have our chart here, and this chart is available in your Hebrew Israelite Bible, right? It's like on page 3 of the Hebrew Israelite Bible, right? So the first page, right, has a dedication to the late Elder Karatas Allah from HOD, right? HODC, House of David. I learned Hebrew from watching this brother's videos. I learned the basics from watching this brother. And as I dove more into the language, right, as I dove more into my studies, again, I would utilize the text, the Hebrew text, and to learn more. Because again, if you just...
All right, I think we could effectually stop there. By the way, I just checked my mic and noticed that my mic was pretty low. I want to make sure that I'm coming across clear. So can everybody just please let me know that you're able to hear me loud and clear? I literally just changed the settings on my mic just to ensure that everybody is able to hear me loud and clear. How's my mic now? Good? All right, good. We good to go. All right, we good to go. So on that note, everybody, let me just rewind and pull back up again. Shah Ariala says that he learned Hebrew from watching an elder at the House of David on YouTube. With all due respect, this is the problem with the Israelite community right here. We don't possess enough respect, respectfully. We don't possess enough humility, respectfully, to actually sit down and learn from people directly, or at least learn in a formal institution. And I'm not saying that Ariala is doing this for this reason, but I know for a fact a lot of people prefer to do that. They prefer to not have the interaction because they want the skill set of learning the language, but they don't want the experience of engaging with people that they don't want to, learn from directly. Usually because this person can't be able to say a couple of years from now that they were my teachers. So, I'm gonna just watch their YouTube videos. I'm gonna learn what they know, and then I'm gonna come out and say that I do the same thing. Why not just learn from the person? Well, because then that person could say that I taught you, and they could sun me. That's the problem with the Islamic community right there. And I'm not saying that that's Ariala's, his niche, his thing, but I know that to be true for a lot of people because I've had people come and tell me, Zion, I learned a lot from you. I even have people tell me that so-and-so say that they're your student. So-and-so they say you're a student. When I meet these people, I'm like, you said you're my student? Well, I watch your videos, Zion, so like you my teacher, you my man. I respect that you watch Zion LEXX TV. I thank you for your patronage. But if you have never sat in my class, I am not your teacher. If you ever took a Hebrew class from me and you didn't receive a Hebrew certificate, please don't say you graduated from my Hebrew class either. I want to be real with people. Either we're going to be about what we say we about, or we're going to stop faking the funk. So with all due respect, I want to make this crystal clear People that can say that they learn from me, trust me when I tell you I know them. We have interactions. Most of my students, if not all of them, have my direct number. They can call me, they can text me. All of these people saying they learned from me that I never heard from can't say that because they didn't actually learn from me. They might have watched a video here and there. And to be brutally honest, I don't have respect for that. Don't say you learned directly from me. That's not honest. So on that note, I think this part of my presentation is important because it'll help everyone to understand why Ariala is so perplexed and challenged about the position that I hold as it pertains to Hebrew. He never learned Hebrew formally. He never even sat one-on-one with a credible and meritable teacher that could correct him. Ariala, with all due respect, you can't learn from someone by just watching their video. What if you think you understand everything that they said? However, because there was never no one-on-one direct interaction, they were never able to tell you, hey, can you repeat to me that? And then you repeat it wrong and they say, nah, that's not what I meant by that. You see? That's why you can't say you learn from somebody on YouTube. I got to bring back the bombs because this is diabolical. This is insane. I was wondering, like, was this video meant for public when he did this and said, I learned Hebrew on YouTube? Or was this just for like a small circle? But apparently he put this on his YouTube page. So apparently I don't think he sees a problem with it. And I don't want to diss the brother if that's how he feels, but I come from a cloth and a school of thought that we have a much higher standard than that. And we know that interaction means something. It's the reason why, Ariala, that people have to actually interact with you to engage in your community, right? You wouldn't just let people say that they learn from you just watching a YouTube video. You would want to know that they joined your institution, they joined your camp, they joined your congregation. You wouldn't be cool with somebody saying they watched 1,000 hours of your videos, so now that they're your student. That's crazy. Now, this person might have watched your videos, but still don't understand what you said because there was no one-on-one interaction. Now they go outside and misrepresent everything that you're saying, and while still saying they're your student. You see how crazy that sounds? So I want to say to the community, with all due respect, don't follow this lead right here. It's not a good look. Next slide. In Ariala's presentation, one of the things that he critiqued me for, he said that everyone knows that ancient Hebrew, the Hebrew language in general, I'm paraphrasing, is an abjad, meaning it's a consonantal language. Huh? First and foremost, an abjad refers to an alphabet that is only consisting of consonants. So the English alphabet includes letters that function as vowels, A, E, I, O, U, right? And sometimes Y, right? Hebrew is unique. Hebrew as a consonant, as an orthographic writing system, is an abjad, but the language is not. The Hebrew language always had vowels. The Hebrew writing system is classified as an abjad, meaning that when you look at ancient Hebrew, what people are calling Paleo-Hebrew, what scholars call Kitav Ivri, the ancient script, when you look at that script, unless you understand Hebrew grammar, you wouldn't even know that there's vowels staring at you right in the face. That's another reason why anyone saying they learn Hebrew on YouTube is going to fail miserably. Because anyone that understands Hebraic grammar, you can see Hebrew grammar in Paleo-Hebrew. You can see Hebrew grammar in what we call Masoretic Hebrew. If you understand grammar, you understand that various letters function as vowel letters, an indication of vocalization. I'm going to get heavy into that in a couple of moments, but I'll continue. The Hebrew writing system is classified as an abjad, meaning it primarily records consonants, even though spoken Hebrew always had vowels from the earliest period. To compensate for the absence of written vowels, emphasis on written vowels. By the way, everyone, as a rule of thumb, anything you see in red, I need you to really pay attention to. Anything you see underlined, I need you to really pay attention to. Continue. To compensate for the absence Somebody's saying that they can't see my slides. I'm going to ask the community, are you guys able to see my slides? Is everybody able to see my slides? Is my slide showing? Can everybody see my slides? Okay. I'm not sure why that is. Let me get back. Let me jump right back in. Thank you for saying that, whoever did. Because imagine I get through this whole presentation and they say he didn't even show no slides. Zion didn't even show no slides. That's crazy. I'm asked now, can everybody see my presentation? All right. My Hebrew class is like, yeah, he do that from time to time in class too. All right, here we go. So again, the Hebrew writing system is classified as an abjad, meaning it primarily records consonants, even though spoken Hebrew always had vowels from the earliest period. To compensate for the absence of written vowels, Hebrew consistently used certain consonantal letters as matres lectionis, mother of the tongue, meaning letters that function as vowel carriers to guide pronunciation. These include aleph, often marking a glottal stop or supporting vowels. Hey with kamats, commonly signaling final. Wav with shuruk or kolam, representing the U or O, and Yod with kirik, representing I or E. These consonants, while part of the abjad structure, the actual written language, served as embedded vowel indicators within the script, ensuring that although vowels were not originally written as separate signs, they were always present and accounted for in Hebrew speech and reading. Only someone that doesn't know Hebrew grammar would look at any paleo inscription and say, see, there's no dots there. You know, the dots, the lines, what the Masorites wrote, the Tiberius scribes, there's no dots and dashes, So see, Hebrew originally didn't have vowels, and we can show you. We got the Paleo Hebrew script. It's right here, Kum Yasharala. Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. And y'all only make sense to a room full of crazy people. Because anybody that knows Hebrew grammar knows that Paleo Hebrew shows you a vocalization system. If you understand that various letters function as vowel letters, this is actually crazy that this has to be said again in 2025. But I'm going to make it very, very clear. I'm going to make it very, very clear. I'm going to do as my teachers say. We're going to make it plain tonight. Apparently, Ariella was also perplexed when I made the statement in comparing Akkadian to early Hebrew. And I made a reference that the reason why I'm comparing Akkadian as a language and as a script to early spoken and written Hebrew is because we also have lineage, descent, ancestors among Akkadians. Akkadians are not simply a Semitic speaking group. Akkadians are themselves Semites. I think some Israelite groups and One West might be responsible for this. It's blurry on purpose, by the way, everybody. I'm not showing you the slide while I'm talking over it, so you guys don't read ahead. I do this in class too. Everybody in my class know what I'm doing, but I guess I have to say it for people on YouTube. When you see me blur the screen, it's on purpose. I don't want you guys reading ahead before I get there. All right, clear. So I think One West might be responsible for what Ariella is doing in terms of the mistake that he's making. Because I guess Israelites believe the only people group descended from Shem is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their progeny, the children of Israel. Even though the Table of Nations in Genesis 10 clearly shows you Shem fathered many sons, which in turn had many sons. Not everybody became children of Israel, but we are all descendants of Shem, making us all Semitic Akkadians too. But if you took a history class, a Torah class with me, You would already know that. Here we go. In the Bible, the Akkadians correspond to Semitic people living in the region of Akkad, named in Genesis 10:10 as part of the first centers of Nimrod's kingdom. I thought this was crazy. I gotta point this out. When Ariala critiqued me saying Akkadians are Semitic, he actually fixed his face, with all due respect, Ariala, because this is crazy. He actually fixed his face to say, this is laughable. I'm paraphrasing. Why would Zion do this? I mean, and then he opens up Genesis 10. It clearly says here, Nimrod founded Babylon, Calneh, and Akkad, and these are all centers that Nimrod formed. And Nimrod is a Cushite. Damn, Zion. Y'all hear the silence? That was the silence in the hall of every academic institution on the globe and possibly even Mars when he said that. Because how crazy is that? That's like you telling me that because Nimrod is in the Bible regarded as the person that founded the city of Babylon, which we know later Abraham lives in that region, that would also make Abraham a Cushite. Isn't Abraham a Semite? Don't the Bible teach us that Abraham and his progeny, his family, dwelt in southern Mesopotamia? Don't you know from history that you had Semitic-speaking people in northern Mesopotamia? At a later point in history, there are the Assyrians. At an earlier part in history, they're known as the Akkadians. But I guess people don't actually know this. I thought that was crazy when the basis for him disagreeing with me that Akkadians are Semitic is clearly Zion's wrong. It says right here, Nimrod founded the city of Akkad. Okay. So because Nimrod founded the city of Akkad, with all due respect, here we go. After the flood, Shem's lineage proceeds. Shem, Arpachshad, Shilach, the ancestral line that eventually produces Peleg, Tirach, and ultimately Abraham. A widely cited academic source that connects Arpachshad, the son of Shem, to the Akkadians is The Peoples of the Old Testament World by A. Kirk Grayson and Edwin Yamuchi and others, which explains that the biblical figure Arpachshad is linguistically linked to the region of Ar-Rapha and Arapakaitis, an area historically tied to early Akkadian-speaking peoples. Yamuchi specifically notes that Arpachshad represents the biblical memory of populations associated with the Akkadian culture sphere. Similarly, the Anchor Bible Dictionary states that the name Arpachshad is best understood in connection with territories inhabited by Akkadian and Proto-Akkadian Semites, reinforcing the scholarly consensus that the Bible's genealogy places Abraham with the same Shemite line as those who formed the Akkadian world. Good brother Shah Ariala, with all due respect, you're not ready. You're not ready to peer review me. You're not ready to peer review anyone that knows the Bible seriously. And you're not ready to delve into the language and want to debate with people that you're not even going to come remotely close to playing with. And I say that to you with all due respect, good brother, because this is crazy. Need I remind you, Shah Ariala, that the first king of Akkad, his name is Sargon. Use any search engine you want. I need you to cite 5 sources that disagree with me. It is unanimous, it is consensus that Sargon, the first of Akkad, the first king of Akkadia, is a Semite. I debate people in the Kemetic community all the time. They know that. I talk with scholars. They know that. What's your problem? Next slide. This one was crazy. This one was crazy. For this, I have to go to his most recent video. Give me a couple of seconds, guys. I got to go to his most recent video for this. So I'm actually going to go to his presentation that he did last night. Like, this was crazy. Give me a couple seconds, everybody. I'm just pulling up the video in the background. In the meantime, I'm going to ask everybody, thumb up the video, share the live stream, support the platform. We have 131 people in the building. As you know, family, the like should reflect that. Thumb up the video, share the live stream, and support the platform. All my Learn Torah Hebrew Academy family, I know you guys are already on it. All my Zion LEXX TV family, I know you guys are already on it. For everybody else, support the platform if you enjoy the information. There are several ways that you can support. With that being said, I'm going to now go to his most recent video where he's critiquing me for using an Akkadian grammar book. And he pulls up the source material that I'm looking at or that I refer to, and then he does something that's insane. Let me just find the, okay, I wrote it down, 50 minutes and 54 seconds. I forgot that I wrote it down. Give me a second, everybody. All right, this is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna share my screen in a couple of moments so everybody can see. And here we go. When everybody can see the screen, just please let me know that you can see the screen. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can everybody see the screen? If everybody's able to see the new screen, please throw some fire emojis in the chat. Where we at with time? Where we at? Damn, I just got started. Where we at with time? I just got started. All right, good. Good. All right, everybody can see it, right? Throw some fire emojis in there, y'all. Don't be afraid to use them emojis. All right, here we go.
And I want to show you, this is the source that he pulled up, right?
So this is his video response last night. Did Zion LEXX destroy the Lashawan Qadash? A peer review, right? Yeah, Shar Ariella. This was hard to watch, good brother. This part of your presentation was hard to watch because, I mean, you had it right on the screen, brother. If you would have only showed the full screen, you had it on the screen. I don't know you, so I can't say you were being disingenuous. The love and respect that you showed me was real. So, you know, I can't assume that, again, you were being disingenuous, but you did a horrible job, good brother. Here we go.
That he cited, right? If you can see here, this is the preface of it, right? Here's the source, right? I want to show you something. Let's go to page 35, lesson 1. This is a textbook, right? The sounds of Akkadian. Since there have been no native speakers of Akkadian for some 2 millennia, over 2,000 years, it is impossible to determine exactly how the language was pronounced.
So let me stop right there. You know when somebody think that they got a bomb and they look around, they be like, guys, I got a bomb. And everybody be like, ooh. And he be like, yo, back up. It's a bomb. Yo, this the bomb. Yo, y'all got to go way back. Might get hurt. And then he light it. Everybody run. It goes off. Only to realize homeboys just dropped a firecracker. Because the way he presents this is like he dropped the bomb when he really just lit a firecracker, a jumping jack. Here we go. He thinks he had a point when he pulls up the grammar and reads from it, and it says, the sounds of Akkadian. Since there have been no native speakers of Akkadian for some 2 millennia, it is impossible to determine exactly how the language is pronounced. He thought that was a kill shot. Whole time I'm sitting there asking myself, why he not showing the full screen? You're going to see in a couple of moments why he possibly may not have shown the full screen. I don't know that that's why he didn't do it, which you'll see in a couple of moments. But I want to say this. Even with the English alphabet, which clearly has a vowel system included, A, E, I, O, and U, scholars can look at the English alphabet and its vowels and see how it's distributed here in America, in the UK, and in the Caribbean, and obviously notice the way that someone in America pronounces English is vastly different than the way it's pronounced in the UK. The way someone pronounces and speaks English in the Caribbean with the patois dialect and accent, my family's from the Caribbean, is vastly different. The people in the Caribbean are not using a different alphabet. They're not using a different vocalization system, but they certainly have a different way of pronouncing the language. Just because the scholar clearly said that there's no way to know their exact pronunciation, good brother Shar, that still don't mean that they didn't have the vowels A, E, I, O, and U, which is staring you in your face. If you would have only went on to click where it says A vowels right there, and it goes on to say there are 4 short vowels, and they clearly show you A, E, I, O, and U. Shar, I'm not sure who you contended with in the past. I'm not sure who you have, been in opposition with in the past. But if you want to play with a person like me, I'm going to need you to bring a bomb. You're going to have to bring a bomb, not a firecracker, a bomb.
The pronunciation used by scholars is merely an educated guess based largely on comparison with languages related to Akkadian, such as Arabic, Amharic, and Hebrew. Now, here is where, and this right here, this is why I'm saying this is nonsense, right? These scholars are basing it based off of how Hebrew's pronounced today, some 2,000 plus years later, right? And how Arabic is pronounced, right? If anyone, right, has ever gone into,
all right, I think I could stop that there, and I'm gonna head right back to my presentation. Let me get right back to my presentation. I want everybody to see my response to this, because this is crazy. This is actually insane. So I have prefaced on the screen. I want to make sure that everybody can see it. Good. I have prefaced on the screen where it says, sometimes the greatest challenge we face are those challenges that are staring right at us. Good brother Shar, the answer that validates my position is right on the goddamn screen. You know, the screen that you have cut off where it says the vowels and shows what vowels the Akkadians have that scholars are aware of, that you tried to say doesn't exist, and the screen is cut off so the people can't see what the scholars went on to say. But don't worry, I got you. I got the full script in the next slide. At 5054, scholars agree, he says, no one knows the Akkadian pronunciation. Okay, big deal. Yet, right under that, however, it clearly states that Akkadian had the A, the E, the I, and the U vowel, the exact same thing that I said. This is challenging. So I got the full screen, guys. Y'all ready? Akkadian grammar text. The author explains that although no native speaker, remember everybody, rule of thumb, the words that are underlined, pay attention to. The words that are in red, pay a special attention to. The author explains that although no native speakers of Akkadian have existed for 2 millennia, making its exact pronunciation impossible to know, scholars can still identify its vowel system with certainty because the language explicitly marks 4 short vowels, A, E, I, and U. the very reason why Zion LEXX compared early Hebrew to Akkadian to show that they have the same vocalization system as early Hebrew and late Hebrew via the Tiberian vocalization system consisting of the vowels A, E, I, and U. Ariala, what are you doing? You showed up to a gunfight with a butter knife and a firecracker. Because the language explicitly marks 4 short vowels, A, E, I, U, and 4 corresponding long vowels in its writing tradition. These vowels are not speculative, but are textually attested in Akkadian cuneiform and are crucial for distinguishing meaning between otherwise identical words, proving that early Semitic languages always use a full vowel system. This directly supports the reality behind the Tiberian vocalization system of the Masoretic Hebrew Bible, because the very same core vowels found in the Masoretic tradition, A, E, I, U, already appear in Akkadian more than 1,000 years earlier, demonstrating that Masoretic vowels were not invented in the Middle Ages, like he said, but reflect an ancient continuous Semitic vowel tradition. Ariala might be somewhere punching the air right now and possibly still losing. Here we go, man. The full thing on the right shows you lesson 1, the sounds of Akkadian. Since there have been no native speakers of Akkadian for some 2 millennia, it is impossible to determine exactly how the language is pronounced. Absolutely, I don't disagree with that statement. I think sometimes people find it challenging when scholars are honest enough to admit that things aren't known. And I think for some people that infers a gotcha moment. See, they don't know. No, you need to keep reading. Because, yeah, they don't know exactly how the language is pronounced. Just like English can clearly be pronounced several different ways, even though several different ways don't preclude that any of those ways don't have access to the vowels or the same consonants. What are you doing? Here we go. Oh, man. The bottom says A, vowels. There are 4 short vowels, A, E, I, U, and 4 corresponding long vowels. Long vowels are marked with a macron, A, E, I, and U, or with a circumflex, depending on the origin or the length. The vowels may be pronounced as follows: A as in swap, E as in pet, I as in pit, U as in put, A as in father, E as in rain, I as in marine, U as in rule. Clearly, Ariala. Good brother Ariala. The Akkadian language utilizes the same vocalization system as the Masoretic text. The very reason why I made the comparison. Instead of you having the screen cut off, you should have showed the whole thing. That could reflect on you bad. People might think you're being disingenuous. I don't personally think you are, but people could think that. Okay. One thing in a debate that people tend to do is they tend to filibuster. Me and Ariala have not had a debate. Me and Ariala are not debating. We're having a conversation. However, I noticed some filibustering. Because I showed a video of an ancient Hebrew speaker who self-describes as a Samaritan Israelite or a Samaritan Jew, rather than focus on the pronunciations that he made, which he says are ancient, and scholars agree, by the way, that the way he pronounces it is ancient, and it agreed with my pronunciation, which is Masoretic, rather than deal with that point, Ariala began to actual filibuster. This guy is Samaritan, and Zion called him an Israelite, and He stayed there like almost 15 minutes filibustering. Anybody that's familiar with debate styles know that that's an epic deflect. Know what a filibuster looks like. So even though this is not a debate yet, he was definitely evoking some debate tactics by filibustering. That's like buying time. That's like deflecting. Rather than deal with the point, he rather critiques the person's lineage. Listen, Ariella, I don't personally think that he's an Israelite. In fact, Ariella, if you go back to the video, I clearly said the Samaritans are a group that was brought into the land of Israel by the king of Assyria, and they have been there from then till now. And at the time that they arrived when we spoke and wrote in ancient Hebrew. And so they therefore preserve that. Never once did I say I agree that he's an actual Israelite. Y'all see how challenging this is? All right. Filibustering in a debate refers to a tactic where a speaker talks excessively, overtalks, diverts, refers to a tactic where diverts or deflects in order to avoid addressing the main scholarly premise, evidence, or argument being presented. Ariella, why didn't you show evidence that disagrees with his pronunciation? That's for you to answer. I don't even know how to, I don't know. Instead of engaging the actual point, the person drags the discussion, he did that a lot, into unrelated topics, he did that a lot. Repeats himself endlessly, he did that a lot. Introduces side issues, he's not an Israelite. Or simply speaks for so long that he did, that the original argument cannot be analyzed or challenged properly. In essence, filibustering is a way to stall, overwhelm, or derail the debate so that the substantive evidence-based discussion never actually happens. Here we go. Throw up the video and share the live stream, family. We heating up. So Ariella went on to say, oh man, shout out to Genesis in the building. Priest Hakar of Genesis says, this is getting like the bottom of Christian Louis Vuitton shoes, bloody. Salute to you, my brother. Salute to you, man. You know, Ariella was respectful. I'm just being humorous. I'm not trying to diss the brother personally. I'm not taking a personal shot. I'm being humorous about the way in which he dealt with the scholarly information. I'm not saying he's a horrible character. I'm not saying that he doesn't have integrity and morality and people shouldn't follow him because he lacks those things. I'm simply being humorous about what I believe is the sloppy way in which he handled his rebuttal. That's all. And we got to edutain, right? So here we go. He filibustered so long that he wanted to make the bulk of the discussion about critiquing my artifacts. Can I say something to y'all really quick? Just before I go into this, really quick, everybody. If anybody watched Ariella's presentation last night, can y'all put 2 in the chat? I just want to check something for a minute. I want to make sure that the conversation is balanced. I need to know that people actually seen the discussion, right? It wouldn't be helpful that there's a lot of people here that didn't see the discussion. So if you saw the discussion last night, please put a 2 in the chat. I want to see if you saw what Ariella presented last night. Put a 2 in the chat, everybody. Put a 2 in the chat if you guys watch Ariella's presentation. I want to be fair and honest towards the brother's work. All right. So obviously people saw his presentation. I want everybody to do this now. If Ariella did not present just one piece of evidence that supported Lashawan Qadash and its rules of pronunciation, put fire emojis in the room if he didn't show at least one shroud, one piece of evidence that validated why Lashawan Qadash as a pronunciation system is accurate. Put fire emojis if he didn't demonstrate, prove, and show that. I just want to see something. Because for some reason, and I could be wrong, it seems to me that he spent the whole night critiquing my sources without validating his position. Maybe if you're slow, dumb, really slow or challenged, you didn't catch why that is. But to people who are intelligent, understand why that is. He don't got no sources. There's no academic source in existence, in the multiverse, in Planet Risk. There is no academic source in the world that agrees with Lashawan Qadash as a basis of pronouncing the Hebrew language. So he spent the entire night critiquing my source horribly, filibustering, all the while forgetting to do a very important thing. Do you have one source that agrees with you, or are we just supposed to believe you because you're up, you're newcoming, you exposed guerrilla Hebrew, and after all, you're the house of bread? Y'all gotta be kidding me, man. Y'all gotta be kidding me. Here we go. The Kerbet Kayafa Astrakhan, often associated with the early kingdom of Judah, time of David and Solomon. The Astrakhan shows, remember everyone, the things that are underlined, pay attention to. The things that are in red, pay a special attention to. This is the PowerPoint slide that I showed originally that Ariala critiqued last night and said I was wrong, and even my source shows I'm wrong. So I pulled up the same slide, but except this time I underlined and I highlighted in red because perhaps Ariala don't read well at night. Perhaps he was tired. He did look a little tired in the presentation. Perhaps he overlooked it. He had a lot on his mind because he's way in over his head. A number of those things could be possible. So again, this is what I showed, except this time, the keywords and the operative phrases are highlighted and color-coded. The Astrakhan shows that the letter Wav used to mark an O and U vowel is accepted. That's what the Astrakhan shows. The Yod, possibly marking I and E vowels, that's debated. So scholars are saying that there's no denying that this Astrakhan shows evidence that early Hebrew, as demonstrated in Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions, certainly had the vowels O and U. But the letter Yod, Yad, however y'all pronouncing that in Lashawan Qadash today, which can give you the I and E in Hebrew, that's debated among scholars. Again, I think some people think that honor scholarship becomes a gotcha moment. See, they said right here that they don't know. And Zion even showed it. His own source, this Ariala. So honor scholarship is what you show what the scholars say in full. Dishonest scholarship is just to come here and show you that they agree with everything I'm saying, and there's nothing that's clearly dishonest. There's no real scholar doing that. You have to be honest. So what do I have on my presentation? I have a clear mention of what scholars disagree with, and I have a clear mention of what scholars agree with. The keywords and the operative phrases were right on the slide. Ariala, what are you doing? The claim collapses immediately. Vowels existed long before the Masoretes. The Masoretes, who some people say developed between the 8th and 11th century CE, did not invent Hebrew vowels. They invented a system of writing them, not the existence of the vowels themselves. You see, if Shah Ariala were to take a Torah class with me, a Hebrew class with me, where in my Hebrew class, I don't only teach the language, I teach the history of the Hebrew language. Most of these people don't teach the history of the language, how the language evolves, going all the way back to the remote times in history to show the scholarly view on how language evolves, as well as the theological view as to how the Hebrew language evolves. Most scholars don't do that, but I actually do in my Hebrew class. And I believe, based on what Shah Ariella presented, he clearly doesn't know this. He doesn't know that Tiberias, the area of Tiberias, where these scholars convene to develop the Masoretic tradition, to develop the pointed lines and dots, is there to preserve the original pronunciation. They were not inventing a new one, because they knew and understand, like any speaker and reader of biblical Hebrew and its grammar contained therein, if you're not vocalizing Hebrew properly, then you cannot interpret it properly. And if through exile, through captivity, our people are removed from our history, our culture, and our language, so that in remote generations and times, we won't know the language. We won't even know the pronunciation. By not knowing the pronunciation, by not knowing the rule of grammar, we will misinterpret the text. These scholars said, hold on, we're going to do something innovative in history. We're going to dot and dash various vowels, various letters to indicate the pronunciation, so that we can preserve our interpretation, so that we can preserve our scripture and the handling and transmission thereof. See, that's something that you probably wouldn't have learned in a YouTube video. You would have to actually sit in somebody's class. The Dead Sea Scrolls between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE already used vowel letters, matres lectionis, centuries before the Masoretes. Hebrew manuscripts written in Paleo-Hebrew and Aramaic block script use matres lectionis spelling to record long vowels. Examples from the Qumran schools: the yod representing the I and the E in the Qumran Dead Sea Scrolls, the U or the O, the He, the final long A. These occur elsewhere in the Dead Sea Scroll texts. Thus, the vowel system was already known, preserved, and written. The Masoretes did not invent new vowels. They invented a pointed indication and markers to preserve our interpretation. But y'all don't care enough about the history. Most of us are not humble enough to learn about people, to learn from someone directly, that we rather watch YouTube videos and make horrible mistakes, come up here on a public platform and make our community look crazy. I want everybody to notice the next slide. The Dead Sea Scrolls show the existence of the Tiberian vocalization system. How do we know that, Zion? Watch this. In Isaiah 44:2, in the Masoretic text, in Isaiah 44:2 of the Great Isaiah Scroll, you can compare and contrast something that will show the existence of the Tiberian vocalization system in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls began to be written in the 3rd century BCE, all the way, according to some scholars, to the 1st century Common Era. And there are even some scholars that say it goes back to the 4th, 5th, and even 6th centuries Common Era. But the consensus is that the Dead Sea Scrolls are written between the 3rd century BCE all the way up to the 1st or 2nd century CE. There's no European Jew in the 3rd century BCE that's not taught in the Israelite community, right? I mean, somebody update me, maybe I'm wrong. There's no Khazarian Empire at that time. By the way, I'm saying this because Shar says that they're the ones that gave us this. Well, Shar, if I can show that the Dead Sea Scrolls show the same Tiberian vocalization system, which I'm about to do, and clearly the Dead Sea Scrolls are written before Yiddish as a vernacular, which joins Hebrew with Slavic or Germanic languages, before there's a Khazarian nation that converts to a religion that they newly claim and call, we all know what that is, then that means your point is mute. So watch this. Right under the word we Yeshurun, which is a poetic epithet in the Bible to describe Israel as the upright one. Yeshurun. If everyone looks under the letter Shin, those who know the Masoretic vocalization system, the Tiberian vocalization system, you'll notice that those 3 diagonal dots where you see my arrow pointing to, that's called the kibbutz. and it makes an oo sound. In the Masoretic text, they place the kibbutz vowel marker underneath this letter so that we would know how to interpret this properly, to not only pronounce it as Yeshurun, but that it would carry the meaning that it needs to carry. How do we know that this vocalization system exists in earlier times? Is right from the Dead Sea Scroll text. Because the letter Wav, which is used here not as a consonant, because if it's used here as a consonant, it would change the meaning of the name. Because if this Wav is considered part of the root, meaning it's now a consonant, then it changes the meaning of the name. The root of Yeshurun is Yashar, not Yashwar with a W. It's Yashar, Yod, Shin, Resh. The only reason why the letter Wav is in the middle is because it has a vocalization function. In academia, that's referred to as matres lectiones, which indicates that various letters function as vowels and as consonants, and here it's functioning as the vowel oo, right inside the Masoretic text. Several times in the Tanakh, you see this. Even in the Samaritan Torah, you see this. This is a clear indication of the same vocalization in the Tiberian system, except what the Tiberian system does is they mark it with dots to indicate it. Moving on. The Dead Sea Scrolls show the existence of the Tiberian vocalization system. Same chapter, same verse, changing words. The first word, ko, which is part of the phrase ko amar yod he wav he, thus saith the Lord. The first letter, kaf, is right there. Then you have the vocalization marker, the diacritic mark, the nikud. You see it right there. That is the defective spelling of the kolam, representative of the O. In the Dead Sea Scroll text, they mark that with the letter wav. This word, thus, that we translate as thus saith, ko amar, it's only spelled with 2 letters in Hebrew. You only need 2 letters. Some people who are new to biblical Hebrew, they think that all Hebrew words have a trilateral root. No, they don't. Many Hebrew words have a binary root consisting of 2 consonants, biconsonantal. Like the word chai, the Hebrew word for life. Like the word dam, the Hebrew word for blood. There are, like the word no, which is low, the way to say no. There are several words in Hebrew which are binary. This is one of them. The only reason why the wav is here in the Dead Sea Scroll text is because it was used by the scribes of the Dead Sea Scroll text to indicate the sound that it makes, which is ko. And you see that sound represented right in the Masoretic text, dotted. Kill shot. Genesis 1 in Paleo Hebrew. It reads in the Masoretic text, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et ba'aretz. By the way, I want to remind everyone that myself and Shar will be live on the screen in front of each other on Friday. That's going to be interesting. I really do hope that Shar Ariala really knows the Hebrew language, because I'm going to walk him through the lion's den and going through the mechanics of the language. He don't know what I'm going to ask him. I don't know what he's going to ask me. But all I can say is, whoever don't know their stuff going to be in trouble that day, because I'm certainly bringing it out. You better know the language like you say you know it, or else that's going to be very embarrassing. Genesis 1:1 reads, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. A close examination of it shows you that even in the Paleo script, there are vowel indicators. So for instance, in the word Elohim and in the word Bereshit, the root of the word Bereshit is Rosh. The construct at the beginning, the letter Beit, is a preposition. It means in or with, as in the beginning. The Yod and the Tav at the end is trying to say beginning of. Yod is functioning as a vowel letter. It is not functioning as an actual consonant. Its function there is that it is a vocalization, a vowel. You see that vowel right inside of the Masoretic text as well. So that's important. In the word Hashemayim, you see it right here. You see the Hey, you see the Shin, you see the Mem, and you see the Yod right there. And then you see the Mem again. Again, that feature there is for vocalization. It even exists in the Paleo. What am I referring to? The Samaritan text of the Bible, entirely written in Paleo Hebrew, has the same vowel indicators as the Masoretic text, showing you that even ancient Hebrew used the Tiberian vocalization system. This is too easy. The word for create, I want everybody to really pay attention. I'm going to remind everybody again of our rule of thumb. Anything underlined, pay attention to. Anything in red, pay a special attention to. The way to say create in Hebrew is bara. But here's something interesting. God created the heavens and the earth. As a result of that ideology, we refer to the creator by way of an epithet. We call him Ha-Boreh, the creator. The word Boreh is spelled in Hebrew the exact same way as bara, which means to create. What determines in biblical Hebrew whether we're speaking about creating or we're speaking about the actual creator? Vocalization. So look at the Samaritan text of the Torah. In the Samaritan text of the Torah, where the term creator is mentioned, you'll see the vowel indicator, the wav, right in the middle of the beit and the resh. Clearly, as you see it in the Masoretic text, indicating vocalization. Because if anyone was to look up right now, the actual root of Boreh, you will see as bara. That's how it's spelled. In order to get the function of creator, you have to enunciate with the O. You have to change the vocalization. In changing the vocalization and inflecting the vocalization, it breeds a new meaning, creator. And you see it present even in the Samaritan text of the Torah in Paleo Hebrew. When I tell you guys, and I say this often in class, the work is easy when you're well studied, I'll say it again. The work is easy when you're well studied. One thing Ariala says that I agree with, mainly concerning the One West community, is that he says Hebrew Israelites don't know Hebrew, right? Ariala has been championing for some time now that we need to revamp how we're speaking what he calls Lashawan Qadash. I think Lashawan Qadash doesn't need to be revamped. I think it needs to be thrown in the garbage, but I applaud him for knowing that it needs to be updated. The only problem is the real updated needs that it needs to go in the garbage. That's the real update. But I at least applaud him for taking the first step in realizing and recognizing that there's something problematic about it. So Ariala says, I've been telling, dudes to stop saying Bahasham for years. Hebrew Israelites don't know Hebrew. Well, I think we all know why he's saying that. We all know what community he's speaking about when he's saying Hebrew Israelites. He's talking about the One West communities. They're the ones that say Bahasham. No other communities of Hebrew Israelites that are completely not connected to One West pronounce this word that way. We call it in Hebrew Beishem. Beishem. He says to call it Basham. Okay, that's better than Bahasham. I'll say that. But you still need to throw that pronunciation in the garbage because that pronunciation doesn't yield the meaning of in the name of or with the name. So you need to throw that pronunciation in the garbage, but I at least applaud the first step that he takes. But again, I want to make something very, very clear. He agrees that One West Hebrew and people that speak it are reflective of the fact that people don't know Hebrew. To what extent remains to be debated on his part. Now I'm going to get into the real scholarly side. If you're new to Hebrew, you may have thought what I presented so far was scholarly. We ain't even scratched the surface yet. This is still beginning Hebrew. We in Hebrew 101. By the way, I may do a critique video to his Paleo Hebrew 102, because what Ariella is calling Hebrew 102, we teach in Biblical Hebrew 101. I'm not sure why that's advanced for his community, but, I applaud his effort. The Masoretes never claimed to have invented vowels. Their own writings, have you ever read? By the way, let me just say something really quick. A lot of people don't do this. People get angry when Zion shows books. Zion always showing off. He got books. Yeah, I read books. I don't think he's ever read through the basics of the Masoretic tradition. A book that I would refer you to is the Cambridge Semitic Languages and Cultures, the Tiberian Pronunciation Tradition of Biblical Hebrew, Volume 1 by Jeffrey Kahn. Everyone can look that name up online, and you can see the book right there. I'm going to definitely ask him to get this book and actually study it, because what a lot of people do is they disagree with things without even learning them, which I think is childish and I think is foolish. Because after studying it, you may find that not only do you not disagree, you actually agree. Shall I say it again? In studying it, you may actually find that not only do you not disagree, but you actually agree. Most of y'all ain't never studied the counterposition, but you're so quick to say, I don't believe in it. And it reflects in your work that you never did the work. In their own writings, the Tiberian scholars, and I'm going to give you guys the history of them in a moment, they say the opposite. We preserve the Masorah, meaning the teachings of the ancients, through diacritic marks. They saw themselves as recorders, not inventors. The Tiberian system developed to preserve pronunciation and meaning, not to invent new sounds and distort meanings. Where y'all get that from? Just to remind everybody, I'm going to need everybody in the building at Inside the Nation Radio. I'm going to need everybody in the building at Inside the Nation Radio. After I present my presentation, you guys can feel free to join the live stream, but I'm going to continue my presentation. I'm not stopping my presentation for somebody to interrupt. I would like to get my presentation done with, just for those who are asking in the chat. I'll be on Inside the Nation Radio, joined by Shah Ariala this Friday at 8:30 p.m. I want everybody to lock in. I want everybody to tune in. And I definitely want Shah Ariala to read as much Hebrew grammar books as he possibly can. I'm going to need you to come with your A work, because I don't want your community and I don't want you to say or think that you were unprepared. I want to make sure you're prepared. If you know the language you say you know, then you should be prepared now. But you have at least 3 days left to prepare for Friday's conversation. Here we go. The Armana letters prove pre-exilic Hebrew vocalization. Now, I showed a number of artifacts, but I'm always holding back. Oh, man. Look at Moray Troublemaker. Look at Moray Troublemaker. I got to shout him out real quick. Where's my man at? Where's my man at? Hold on. Moray Troublemaker, we call him in our Hebrew class. Binyamin. He says, much love and shalom, Moray. My two mites are that you, Zion, are number one, hands down, the true triple OG status. Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. Second to none. All praises to the Most High. He then goes on to say, Shar Ariala is, in my opinion, is a next gen. You the bold, fearless, hence stepping to you. You're both prophets of all. Much love to you, good brother, for your patronage, your donation, and your respect to both parties involved. Again, my critique, although humorous, is not personal. I don't know Shar Ariala. I don't think that he's not a man of integrity. I don't think that he is not a man of morals and ethics. In fact, I applaud the way from the gate he commanded his following, instructed them not to disrespect me. Just like I asked, petition, and asked my following not to disrespect him, and that certainly didn't happen, and it won't happen. And if it happens, my moderators will remove that instantly. So much love to Moray Sean, Moray Troublemaker. I want to see you back in class soon, good brother. But I got to go back to the presentation. Thank you very much for your donation. Much love to you. Let's continue to work. All right. One thing about me, I source up because that's just a scholarly method. That's just a scholarly way. No one should believe you if you can't demonstrate your views. Anyone can go on YouTube and have a conversation. It's the reason why even rappers stopped rapping and they got podcasts today. But in the realm of academia, there's a saying, demonstration beats conversation. Respectfully, Shah Ariala, until you show sources in academia that agree with Lashawan Qadash's vocalization system, you can't talk. The full saying is source up or shut up. I don't want to tell you shut up, good brother. I don't want to be disrespectful to you. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't have sources, put your mic on mute every time you go on YouTube. The Armana letters prove pre-exilic Hebrew vocalization. How the Armana letters prove it. The Armana letters dated to 1350 BCE are diplomatic tablets written in Akkadian, but heavily contaminated with Canaanite Hebrew spelling, grammar, and phonology. When Canaanite scribes wrote Hebrew names and words in Akkadian, they had to spell the vowels using Akkadian conventions. As a result, we can actually see how Hebrew was pronounced 700 years before Ezra and 1500 years before the Masoretes. The key discovery of scholars is this: the vowel patterns embedded in the Armana transcriptions match the same short, long vowel distribution later preserved in the Tiberian vocalization system. Thus, the Masoretes did not invent the vowels, they recorded an already ancient system. Now, here's the sources. Paleo-Hebrew with Tiberian vocalization. Example, Armana spellings of Hebrew names match Tiberian vowels. The name Yod-He Wav-He, base theophoric names such as Yeho, Yo, Yahu. The Armana scribes recorded names such as Yahu, Ya, and Hu endings. Examples appear in EA 256, 364, and 287. These match the Masoretic/Tiberian pronunciation of Yahu as a theophoric suffix, exactly the way the Tanakh vocalizes it based on the Tiberian vocalization system. Yeshayahu, Isaiah. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. Next slide. I'm going to repeat something. We say this often at Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. The work is easy when you're well studied. I did this presentation as I watched his video and was done within an hour after watching his video. Because when you're well studied, the work is easy. The Armana letters clearly preserve the final hu, showing that pre-exilic Hebrew indeed pronounced the suffix with a U vowel, just as the Tiberian system does. This destroys the myth that Yahu is a late invention. Name, Yeho, prefix. Some Armana personal names begin with Ayahu, which the I is really the Y. Ayaho, Ayahu. This corresponds precisely to the Tiberian Yeho prefix, as in Yehonatan, Yehoiakim. The alternation Yahu suffix versus Yeho, Yo prefix is preserved in the Armana letters 700 years before the Masoretes. What are you even talking about? You brought a butter knife to a gunfight. This proves the Masoretes were preserving something ancient and not inventing it. Paleo-Hebrew with Tiberian vocalization. Again, Hebrew grammatical vowels show up in Armada Akkadian spelling. The Armana letters contain not just names, but Canaanite Hebrew speech, showing the vowel pattern of Hebrew grammar. Hebrew imperfect, wait till we go through the mechanics of Hebrew language. Wait till I get to question you, Shar. I hope you know the paleo the way you say you know the paleo, because that's what I'm bringing out on Friday, along with the Masoretic, to show you how the systems match and correlate. But I'm going to say to you, Shar, you better know the mechanics of biblical Hebrew when you jump on that stage with me on Friday. Or else, my guy, you in trouble. The Armada letters contain not just names, but Canaanite Hebrew speech, showing the vowel pattern of Hebrew grammar. Hebrew imperfect verb prefix follows vowels. Hebrew imperfect verbs typically begin with yod, ya, or you, meaning when we, I'm not even going to give you too much. I'm not even going to teach you how to respond to me. I'm going to keep going. Armana Canaanite scribes consistently wrote Yiv for the Y prefix imperfect verbs, Ya for certain call forms, U for passive stems. This mirrors the Tiberian distribution of Yo, Ya, You, Ya, Ye, Yi, meaning the Masoretic vowels simply inherited ancient Northwest Semitic pronunciation attested already in 1350 BCE. But let me guess, Shah, a European Jew teleported into the past, retrieved this vocalization system, and brought it into the future present. Because that's the only way your position would make any sense. Dagger. In the book entitled Matres Lectionis, in ancient Hebrew epigraphs, Zioni Zevit's Matres Lectionis in ancient Hebrew epigraphs is one of the foundational studies demonstrated that long before the Masoretes added vowel points, the Masoretes, everybody, didn't add vowels. They added vowel markers. The language always had vowels. The Masoretes developed a system to preserve our already existing vowels. But you would only know that if you sat and had one-on-one interactions with Hebrew teachers and didn't learn from YouTube. Ancient Hebrew epigraphs is one of the foundational studies demonstrated that long before the Masoretes added vowel points, ancient Hebrew scribes were already indicating vowel qualities through the strategic use of matres lectionis, the consonantal letters wav, yod, and sometimes hey within inscriptions. Zevit shows that these letters appear not randomly, but in phonologically predictable positions that correspond precisely to later Tiberian long vowels such as O, U, E, and I, proving that ancient Hebrew already possessed a stable system of vocal length, propensatory vowel lengthening, and quality. Do you even know what that is? Shar, let me just tell you something. When you sit down with me on Friday and we just get through the lexical value of the terms, their meanings, and the mechanics of the language, I want to say you're not making it past the first 7 minutes. You haven't demonstrated anything thus far that you can stand 3 minutes in that conversation. So I wonder what 2 hours is going to look for you. I hope you really sit down in the next 3 days with somebody that really knows the language that can help you out. Because I'm sure on your own, you're in trouble, my guy. Through dozens of epigraphic examples from the Iron Age, he demonstrates that Hebrew orthography grew increasingly sophisticated in marking vowels, especially in internal positions within words, and that this evolution mirrors the very vowel distinctions preserved in the Masoretic vocalization system. In essence, Zevit's research confirms that the Masoretes did not invent Hebrew vowels, but merely formalized an older, already functioning vocalic system visible centuries earlier in inscriptions carved in stone, pottery, and metal. Early Hebrew orthography, a study of the epigraphic evidence. Frank Moore Cross Jr., David Noel Freedom. Remember, everyone, if it's underlined, pay attention. If it's written in red, pay special attention. Frank Moore Cross and David Noel Friedman, Early Hebrew Orthography, demonstrate that the ancient Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions, especially those from the 10th to 6th centuries BCE, long before the Khazars, already display a deliberate and rule-based system of matras lectiones, where waw, yod, and sometimes hey are inserted to mark specific long vowels. By analyzing dozens of Paleo-Hebrew epigraphs, physical inscriptions, they show that these vowel letters occur in exactly the same phonological environments where the Masoretes later placed their vowel signs, such as O, U, E, and I. This is bloody. In other words, the inscriptions reveal that ancient Hebrew speakers were already signifying vowel length and quality in predictable patterns, proving that the underlying vowel system of Paleo-Hebrew matches the structure, distribution, and logic of Masoretic Hebrew vowels. Cross and Friedman used this inscriptional evidence to argue that the Masoretic tradition did not invent Hebrew vocalization, but instead preserved a much older, well-developed phonology visible in the earliest Hebrew writing. At this stage in the presentation, I want to ask everybody, if you're enjoying the information, thumb up the video, share the live stream, support and donate to the platform. If you are really enjoying the live stream and you believe that the community is being edified in this moment, and you, more importantly, believe the community needs this in this moment, I'm going to ask everyone to show your love and appreciation for this demonstration by putting some fire emojis in the chat room. Ariala's claims, paraphrased: no Hebrew vowels represented in the Masoretic text or the Tiberian vocalization system existed before the 8th and 11th century AD, even though I just showed a myriad of sources that shows it goes back way further, 13th century BCE, 2300 BCE via the Akkadians. He says ancient Hebrew as represented in Paleo-Hebrew script demonstrates no evidence of the Tiberian Masoretic vocalization method in pre-exilic times. So let me guess, is 1300 BCE pre-exilic? I think it is. And did I just demonstrate that it exists there? I sure did. You would have to study from a direct teacher and not watch a YouTube video in order to know that. Now let me give everyone a history lesson, right? Going back to the history of the Tiberian vocalization system. I want everybody to know, I also thought this was silly. Shah Ariala says, the Tiberian system is named after a Roman emperor, Tiberius. Okay, the center where they convened and the area where they began to carve out and develop the system is named after a Roman governor, Tiberius, right? But I guess, Shah, that means that I don't know what you're thinking, to be honest. I tried to go there, but at this point, I don't know what your logic is based on. Let me just read. There we go. Jerusalem scholars relocated to Tiberias. During the late Second Temple period, into the early post-destruction era, Judaic scholarly leadership gradually shifted northward, first to Yavne after 70 CE under Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai, then to Usha, Shefaram, Bet She'arim, and Sepphoris, finally settling in Tiberias in the early 3rd century Common Era under Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi and his successors. Everyone in my Hebrew class knows who Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi is. They did this because, oh, by the way, Tiberias is in the Galilee region. They did this because Galilee was politically safer, economically more stable, and under less Roman scrutiny than Judea after the exile, allowing rabbinic academies, the Sanhedrin, and later Masoretic activity to flourish. What are they saying? After the destruction of the temple, the scholars in the area of Jerusalem that did not go out into mass captivity, that did not get caught up in the exile and wanted to remain in the land, they moved further north in the land of Israel into the interior, away from Roman authority and power, and entered into the region of the Galilee and convened in the area known today as Tiberias. And it is there, with freedom and autonomy, to develop their own system for the sake of preservation and accurate and honest transmission, that they begin to develop these systems. You would have to know that if you learn from teachers directly and not from YouTube videos. Join Learn Torah Hebrew Academy at patreon.com/Learn Torah. How many times do we actually have to say that? Evidence for this relocation comes from Talmudic sources. Archaeological remains of synagogues and academies in Tiberias, inscriptions and testimonies from early historians such as Eusebius. Chronologically, the Sanhedrin moves from Jerusalem to Yavne in 80 to 120 Common Era. It moves through Usha and Shepharam, and in 135 CE, after the Bar Kokhba revolt, the consolidation in Galilee. In circa 200 Common Era, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi relocates the Patriarchate and Academy to Sepphoris. In early mid-3rd century Common Era, his successors fully established the Sanhedrin and the scholarly center in Tiberias, where it remained for centuries and where the Tiberian Masoretic tradition later emerged. But Ariala said in the video, it's here that Edomite Jews, I'm paraphrasing, came there and they developed this system. He has no source for that because it doesn't exist. And by the way, Ariala, even according to your own teachings, there's no Edomite Khazar Jew in the 3rd century Common Era. And that's when the city of Tiberias is beginning to be settled by the Masoretic scribes. And it's that time that they begin to develop the Masoretic vocalization system. What are we even doing? The earliest recorded evidence for the Tiberian vocalization system emerges well before the 8th century. Why you keep saying, Ariala, that the Tiberian vocalization happens in the 8th century? Because it's at the top of Google? Let me guess. For some people, the most accurate and valid result is the one that's at the top of Google, not knowing that Google is a paid search engine and you can literally pay to have things placed on the top. I don't think everybody knows that, but I guess we now know today. You got to go to academic sources for things. Google is a good resource. It only goes but so far. Please, everyone, read books, go to academic institutions, get it right. Don't look at the top AI description on Google search and now you put that in your PowerPoint and now you're right. Because you're going to look horrible when somebody like me has to do a presentation to show you up. The earliest recorded evidence for the Tiberian vocalization system emerges well before the 8th century. Rooted in post-Second Temple Hebrew reading traditions, preserved by the Tiberian Masoretes, whose activity is already referenced in early sources from the 3rd to 5th centuries Common Era. By the early 6th century, we possess concrete signs. By the way, the 6th century is the 500s. Right now it's 2025 and we're in the 21st century. I just have to say that because at this point, I'm not sure if everyone is really learned. So I have to clarify some of these things. Because he says in the 8th century is when these things develop. Because the 8th century is where we have Khazar Judaism, 740 AD. So he says it's the Edomite Khazars, as he says, small hats that did this. Even though all of the scholarly evidence shows that it begins from the 3rd to 5th centuries Common Era. The 3rd century would be the 200s, the 5th century would be the 400s, and it says by the early 6th century, which is the 500s, we possess concrete signs of a developing Tiberian system. So as early as the 500s Common Era, we already see the Tiberian system. So why y'all keep saying it's the Yiddish? There's no European Jew in the 500s Common Era. Why y'all keep saying it's the Edomite Khazars? The Khazars haven't converted to the religion Judaism yet. In the 500s Common Era. Some of y'all really need to humble yourselves, admit you haven't studied that far, and learn from people that really know what they're talking about. The problem with this community is a lack of humility and a lack of integrity. And for some people, a cross between the two. By the early 6th century, We possess concrete signs of a developing Tiberian system, marginal notes, early diacritic experiments, and proto-Masoretic traditions seen in texts like the Cairo-Geniza fragments and attested by writers such as Severius of Antioch, early 500s, who explicitly reports that Jews maintain a stable, orally transmitted system for distinguishing consonants and vowels, already reported in the early 500s. By the 7th century, the Tiberian system is clearly in structured development, and by the early 8th century, before 740 AD, and prior to the Khazar conversion, the fully recognizable Tiberian vocalization system is already functioning in Tiberias among Jewish scholars whose lineage predates the Khazar kingdom entirely. This timeline, 3rd century, Proto-Masorah, 5th to 6th century documented oral vocal distinctions, 6th to 7th century codifying Masoretes, early 8th century standardized Tiberian notation, shows that the system was an indigenous Palestinian Judaic tradition arising from centuries of Hebrew reading practices, not a product of Khazars, Edomites, or any outside group. Guys, if you're enjoying this information, share this on all your social media platforms. Talk about it tomorrow. Comment on the video now. Comment on the posted video at the end. Show your love for the platform. Join, learn, Torah, Hebrew Academy. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to come back and finish out the presentation and drop the final remaining bombs, but we're going to have a quick commercial break in the meanwhile. I'll be back.
Shalom and welcome to Zion LEXX TV. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and share the live stream. Become a member of Zion LEXX TV and unlock several hidden features and hidden videos. Also, you can donate to Zion LEXX TV at Cash App $ZionLEXX or via PayPal at zionlex@gmail.com. We also have an online academy entitled Learn Torah.
Her, him. Vowels also account for gender. Without vowels shift in vocalization, you would not know when a woman is speaking. You would not know if we're speaking of a woman, because that which dictates that within a language is the vocalization and not the spelling. Let me say this. Based on the rules of Lashawan Qadash, everyone's a woman because every sound ends in ah, with the exception of the consonant they call I, as in the Yahweh Shai. With the exception of that consonant, every letter, every word in Lashawan Qadash ends in ah. The ah sound in Hebrew indicates gender, feminine, woman. So that means when they're speaking to each other in Lashawan Qadash, every man is calling the next man a woman based on Hebrew grammar. Vowels determine verbal tense and aspect. Jesnius Biblical Hebrew 40 through 47, especially pages 113 through 134. In these sections, Jesnius explains that the perfect katal and imperfect yiktol are distinguished by vocalization patterns, not consonants. Lashawan Qadash will have you believing that it's the letters that will dictate these things. Basic Hebrew 101 perfectly shows you it's vocalization that dictates these things, not the consonants themselves, but the way that they're pronounced, their vocalization. Key passages, page 113 through 115. Jesnius states that the perfect is formed by a specific vowel pattern applied to the root. This pattern conveys completed action. Page 121 through 123. Here he explains that the imperfect's meaning and tense values are expressed by vowels and affirmatives, not by the consonantal root. In Hebrew grammar, affirmatives or affixes are letters added to the end of a root to change a word's meaning or function. Vowels determine voice. This is the clearest place where Jesnius teaches that binyamin, the Hebrew verb stems, are determined by vowel patterns, and these stem patterns determine voice. Jesnius writes plainly that the PL stem, the pu'al stem, intensive active, intensive passive are the same root with different vocal patterns producing different voices. Again, same consonantal root. The hefil and hofal spelled exactly the same in Hebrew, but vocalized differently can mean the difference between talking about the causative active and the causative passive. So what I'm going to do, good brother Shar, I'm going to let you know ahead of time because I don't want you to fail miserably. I want you to do somewhat good so that the overall video is worthy to even watch. I want you to study the Hebrew verb stems because I'm going to question you thoroughly on them when we get to question each other. And I want to take you in Paleo Hebrew, and I want you to explain to me through Paleo Hebrew grammar how Hebrew words go from past, present, and future, how the gender switches, how the voice switches, the aspect switches, how we're going from passive, intensive, simple, causative, reflexive. I would love for you to demonstrate that before the community using the Paleo Hebrew. That's going to tell us that you understand the language. You know language when you understand grammar. Grammar represents the general rules of language. Morphology represents the formation of words. Syntax represents the formation of sentences. I hope within the next 3 days you are fully rehearsed on what all of that is, because I'm going to thoroughly question you on that. And I don't want to give you an F-. I want to see you at least get a D. Nifal is identified by a change in vocalization, producing a reflexive or passive voice. All these distinctions are made by vowels. Everyone see the grammar book? Jesnius Hebrew Grammar, Wilhelm Jesnius. Vowels dictate tense, voice, gender. Ariella, put your bid on Amazon and go get the book. Or I guess do what a lot of people are doing, try to get the PDF. This is one of the best Hebrew grammar books that are out there. I would love for you to make sure that you're well studied. How Hebrew vowels alter meaning when the spelling is identical, but vocalization changes everything. So one of the challenges with Lashawan Qadash is, what happens now when you encounter, and you do encounter this in the Hebrew Bible, words that are spelled exactly the same with completely different meanings? Let me guess, and I heard some Israelites attempt to say this. Well, the context is going to tell us overall what the meaning is, because clearly if the sentence is describing human interaction, then it's not a dog we're talking about. Clearly if the sentence is talking about climbing, then we're talking about, something moving. So, the context is going to, let me just tell you a secret, my guy. Anybody saying that? The Hebrew language is a brilliant language. Context has a measurable role towards the interpretation of passages, but if you know the grammar inside and out, you don't need context. The grammar perfectly describes what's happening. So don't give me, you could read the passage and infer. Why draw for inference if you actually know the rules of the language which dictate what everything is saying? That also tells me y'all don't study when y'all say silly stuff like that. Hebrew is built on consonantal roots, but those roots cannot convey meaning without vocalization. The same exact spelling, when pointed differently, produces different parts of speech, different tenses, different genders, different voices, and even different theological meanings. Without the Tiberian vocal or vowel system, these distinctions vanish, and Hebrew grammar collapses into ambiguity. Below are only examples where the Hebrew spelling is identical, but the vowels create entirely different meanings. The word shamar. In Lashawan Qadash, all of these words are spelled the same. They all sound the same. So where's the difference in meaning? Because the vocalization shamar means he guarded, past tense. The vocalization shomer means guarded or a guard. That's a participle, a verbal adjective. I don't want to teach you to respond to me. Let me hold back on some of that. Shamir, a preservative sentiment, noun, rare biblical usage. Spelled exactly the same in biblical Hebrew, in Paleo Hebrew, but pronounced differently. And each different pronunciation yields different meanings. We say book. Sefer is a book. Sofer is a scribe. In the book of Ezra, chapter 7, verse 10, he's called twice, doubly. He's referred to as Ezra HaKohen, the priest. Then he's called Sofer, scribe, and that word is used again to call him scholar. Why is the word for scholar and scribe the same exact word in Hebrew with the same exact pronunciation? because the scribes are the ones writing the books. Therefore, they're writing the books, they know everything contained, they would represent the scholars. Safar means to count, spelled exactly the same in Hebrew, but the vocalization changes the meaning. But in Lashawan Qadash, this is all the same. Safar, Safar, Safar. No indication in the sound pronunciation that we're talking about different things. But let me guess. Read the whole passage, then infer the meaning, right? Garbage. The grammar, understanding the rules, teaches you the meaning without inference. Inference is training wheels. Knowing the grammar is knowing how to ride the bike. All spell Safar, yet one is an object, one is a person, and one an action. Qadash, all of this spell the same. The pronunciation Kadosh means holy. I always tell people, beware of certain terms. Hebrews say the term holy means set apart. It does, but the temple harlot is also called set apart. She's called a Kadesha in biblical Hebrew, drawn from the same root as holy. Holy means to set apart. A Kadesha, a temple harlot, male or female, is set apart as well, except they're set apart to be completely immoral or amoral, lacking morality. They're set apart too, in the other direction, in the direction of wickedness. Kidesh means he's sanctified, spelled exactly the same, all yielding different roots. At this point, I really want to say Lashawan Qadash fails and deserves an F-. There's more that I have to present, but I think for the sake of time and allowing for interaction, I'm going to stop right there. So at this point, is there anyone that would like to join the live stream? I'm going to take the link to the live stream and put it right back in the chat. You are free to join the live stream and join the discussion. We are 2 hours and 17 minutes in. There's a little bit more that I could have showed, but I'll keep it there for now. Actually, let me go back to the screen that shows that myself and Ariala will be meeting up on Friday. There we go. Hit the link. Let's go. In the meantime, let's listen to some music. You don't have to hit the link if you disagree. You can also hit the link if you agree. Anyone can hit that link. Let's get it.
Send you the first. Send you the first. We going out. Out. Send you the first. Send you the first. We going out. Out.
Preset, if you scared, then go home. And no, we ain't saying it twice. Cause once you get into this war zone, it's either your life or their life. And we ain't about losing before an intrusion. We gotta make sure we right. So we send praise and seek his face. Then we load up it is on site. What you thought it was, it's not. Don't wanna see us on your block. Yellow hallelujah, trying to tell y'all that victory is sure shot. We serve y'all's out by oath. And in this army of hosts, yeah, Yahoo the lead. True indeed, in his name we both go.
Send you the first. Send you the first. We going out. Out. Send you the first. Send you the first. We going out. Out. Torch fire, flags in the street. Sing louder, kick up the beat. All them enemy feet get delete when we pray in the street. You to drop them me. Who got the praise for days? Who are the what came face? Made full praise, spit prophecy. We be that anointed royalty. I said we came. Hey. The bar Hamayin number 2, that's on replay. Yeah, we gon' bust them walls, mash up and be on our way. Yeah, to the nations we proclaim his Qadash name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yah, Yah. Send you the first. Send you the first. We going out. Out. Send you the first.
You said.
Send you the first. We going out. Out.
All right. If you're going to be on the live stream, please show your face. If you're going to be on the live stream, please show your face. There we go. If you're going to be on the live stream, please show your face. There we go. All right. Unmute your mics, brothers, and join in. Introduce yourself. I saw Truthfully come in first, and I saw Atar Ben Yisrael come in last. So Truthfully, you could go first. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what community you hail from, and then go into what you want to. At some point, we'll stop you and hear from Atar Ben Yisrael. The floor is yours, brothers. Jump in.
How you guys doing, man? It's been a blessing listening to you, and I look at you like a big bro when it comes to this Hebrew, man, because you putting so much heat down. It's hard to deny it, man. I'm gonna give you flowers right now. As far as the debate goes, man, I'm not even worried about that. I know you're gonna do your thing. I have a question that's a little bit off topic. I hope you don't mind, but it's concerning the line upon line, precept upon precept passage. I was listening to another person, I won't drop any names, but he was saying that in the Hebrew, that's like baby talk, like ga ga ga, goo goo. And I was just wanting to see if I could get some insight on you from you and what you feel about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of teachings in the early One West Israelite community are meritless talking points. Usually when an Israelite from the One West community, and I hate to say that because not everybody in One West is wrong. Not everybody in One West is a bad person, but One West is responsible for why the Israelite community looks crazy, to be brutally honest. Much of them are the reason why just saying you're an Israelite sounds crazy to the general public. I think we all know why those reasons are, right? So those talking points as purported by One West usually comes as a response to not knowing how to deal with someone's information intelligently and just simply saying, brother, nah, you got to do more research. You don't understand. Line upon line, truth upon truth. It's like a cheap talking point. So when I hear people say that, I automatically walk in the next direction because I know you're not dealing in no real scholarship. I think that passage is grossly misinterpreted. Whether I would go into the actual interpretation now, I think it takes away from this presentation. But I would simply say that, in my view, it's a cheap talking point. Whenever I see a person using it, I know that they're not really scholarly in our culture, our history, and our tradition.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next person, jump in.
Hey, shalom. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear.
Hey, shalom, Maki. First and foremost, masterful presentation. Man, you are doing a great work, tremendous work, destroying this foolishness that's been permeating our community for so long. And man, I just had to give you your flowers. And I actually watched his video, his rebuttal last night, man, and I became nauseous from watching it, to say the least. Just to say the least. All right. So I'll just speak on a few things I saw. Primarily when he spoke on the Akkadian aspect of how we couldn't vocalize it, but yet right up under it, you could see where it had the vowels. Right. So I saw that and I know he saw it. And so in my opinion, it was disingenuous because I know he saw it. That's just my opinion. Right. So that was one issue I saw. And he conflated the Akkadian system, the Akkadian pronunciation across Hebrew, as if we couldn't pronounce Hebrew because of that Akkadian precept that he was kind of basing his logic on. Right. So I thought that was grossly egregious. Secondly, another thing I saw that he did was when he went to break down saying Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shah. But when he was doing the pronunciation, he said Yahweh Shah Shah Ah. He didn't say Shah Ah. I don't know if you caught that or not.
I definitely caught it.
Okay.
And I want to admit this. I don't know Shar Ariella personally. We've never spoken. We've never traded a single message online. We've never seen each other in person. Prior to his rebuttal to me, I'm completely unfamiliar with him, except for him being known as a person that helped to expose Guerrilla Hebrew. They have among themselves. And so when he conducted himself last night, I think there were times that he said things that would attempt to ridicule me or attempt to belittle me. But I know that sometimes in presenting information that you disagree with, sometimes you just can't help at having a pop shot here and there. It's like when you're a good boxer, and you boxing, a pop shot gonna come out. He had a couple of those, and I looked past it and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna disrespect the brother. He didn't disrespect me. But one thing I could do is crowd control. Believe that. I'm a DJ. I know how to move the crowd. So I'm not the kind of person you want to play with in terms of moving the crowd. I know how to move the crowd, homeboy. So I said, all right, I'm going to make my presentation scholarly and humorous. And I still was holding back in both directions. So to sum that up, I will basically say that I think that based on what he knows, he did a fairly good job. But it's still planets away from where Israelite scholars should be.
It's extremely underwhelming. It was very unfortunate, to be honest with you. And I'll say this last thing, especially when he got towards the end and he started reading some of the grammar rules, and you can see the neurons and electrons firing off, and he just could not contain it because he doesn't know grammar. So I'm very interested, like I think you're going to bring out, of when you actually walk him through Hebrew grammar, because I have a feeling he has no idea of actual Hebrew grammar rules and how they apply. So like when you're reading the Paleo, as they call it, or the Phoenician script, you can see the Binyanim all throughout the Phoenician script.
All throughout.
And I'm like, how are you coming to this logic? Because you don't know any grammar rules.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I just want to say, man. I just want to salute you for your work. It's masterful. We need it. You're gonna wake up a lot of brothers with it, as you have been doing. So I just want to say salute, and you got my support, beloved.
I appreciate you, good brother. And I also want to say again, I'm not here to expose him. Everybody want to make an expose video, expose. No, we just exposing bad information. How about that? It's not about personal. And again, I don't think he made it personal. I think there were some things that he said that I took offense to, the way he said it. Like he tried to make it sound like, my scholarship was a little crazy. And when you really are scholarly, to know that it's actually the reverse, that like the audacity that you would think my scholarship is crazy. I was offended by things like that. But other than that, that's my brother, because he's an Israelite, and because he's putting in his stone to attempt to build this foundation. And one of the reasons why I never made a career out of attacking Israelites, no matter how much I disagree with them, is because I believe that we work against the greater mission when we do that. That's why Zion's work, my work, is predominantly dealing with the Kemetic community, dealing with people who are complete opposition to the Bible. Brothers are going to always disagree, but why should brothers fight against each other? Now, the only time I may detract from that lane of dealing with outside forces and dealing in-house is when there's someone in the in-house that's dealing with something that is just so grossly, disparaging that it hurts the community, that it needs to be dealt with. And to be brutally honest, Lashawan Qadash is one of those things.
I agree.
One of those things, man. Like my children, I have twin daughters. One of them turned on the YouTube the other day and heard somebody say Thawada. And they came to me and was like, Abba, my children been in this way of life since they were born. I came into this way of life in 1994 when I was 14 and a half. I turned 15 that November. My children were born in this way of life. My twin girls, they're 20, they're going to be 21. My son is 16, they're going to be 17. All their life, all they know is this Hebrew, right? The real Hebrew. So she said she heard Thawada, and she came to me and was like, what's that? You never told us that. I said, they're trying to say Toda. She said, oh my God.
down in the South, say the water.
It's crazy.
They brought me a glass of the water. The water.
Yeah, the water. So I mean, it's embarrassing, brother. It's embarrassing, the state of the community, the doctrines. The language is just one face of the embarrassment, but the doctrines are embarrassing. The behaviors are embarrassing. It's embarrassing, man. So again, nothing personal between me and Ariella. I could meet him in person and still have a vibe with him. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't know him personally to say that. But I think that his way of dealing with scholarship on this subject, I don't know how he ranks on others, but on this subject, with all due respect, he is not my peer. So I don't know what peer review he was talking about. On this subject, good brother, you're not my peer.
Yeah, I gotta give him a thumbs. I would give him 2 thumbs down, but I'm holding my phone. On scholarship, just in regards to scholarship. But blessings to you, brother, man, and blessings to your work.
All right, thank you. All right, our next brother we're gonna hear from is King J, and then Judah the Shooter is in the building. King J, it's on you, good brother. Jump in.
Peace to the panel. I just want to say, definitely, familiar with you. Been a fan of yours for years. I'm not an Israelite.
Hold on, good brother. I don't want to take away from the wealth of information you may share with us, but your mic is really choppy.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Try again.
Can you hear me better now?
Guys, if his mic is clear, type a 1. If it's choppy, type a 2.
No.
I want to make sure people hear you clear. That's all. I don't want to be, maybe go out and come in or check your whatever you're using for a mic. Maybe
I may jump on a laptop. I'm gonna jump on my laptop real quick.
Okay. All right. So just exit out and you can come back in. I'll let you back on the stage. Judah the Shooter
in the
Let's
building.
Go.
Shalom, huh?
The song says send Judah first. Let's go.
You already know. So look, hey, I just want to say, man, hey, amazing presentation, Og, man. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Hey, like I told you earlier, man, this definitely warms my heart, man, because it's definitely time for the community to recognize that it is bad grammar. So I didn't want to say too much in the comment because I know you're going to be speaking with the brother. That being said, I want to share just a little bit because I kind of want to make a point on something that me and you had spoke about before. So what I did was I wrote a few things down or whatnot while I was in my head. So this is one of the things that I said. I said Hebrew is a root-based language. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. One root formed dozens of different words, and only the grammar tells you who is doing the action, when it is happening, how the action is being done, who receives the action. Without grammar, you only see letters, not the actual meanings. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at Hebrew verbs, that can change the entire message. So Hebrew verbs, when we're talking about the Binyam stems like Paul, Nifel, Hifil, etc., each one gives the meaning of the same root word. So on my last video, I talked about active voice versus passive voice, etc. So dealing with active, you know what I'm saying, doing the action, he broke. Passive, he was broken. If anybody don't know, that's active is something that is doing something, and passive is being on the receiving end. So when you look at causative, he called it to break. Reflexive, he broke himself, etc. Like for example, grammar, it'll tell you whether killed means he killed, they killed. I remember you was going over there with sofer versus sefer, etc. When we look at Hebrew, it uses masculine, feminine, singular, and plural, and dual as well. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I'm saying, guys, just understand that grammar, it really helps us understand the language. You know what I'm saying? A single dot or a vowel mark or a suffix can change what a prophecy means, who the command is giving to, whether a passage is literal or if it's an idiom. You know what I'm saying? So like even throughout the New Testament, which is the point I'm getting to, even the New Testament, whether we talk in Textus Receptus, in the Greek text, whether we talk in the Codex Vaticanus, Codex Sinaiticus, when going into the Greek language, you know what I'm saying, although that was written in Greek, it had Hebrew thought patterns, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew idioms, Hebrew sentence logic, you know what I'm saying. So in Greek, you also have something that's very similar known as active and passive, dealing with the voice or whatnot. And I talked about this regarding Matthew 1:16. And that being said, I want to ask, you know what I'm saying, a bit of a question. So like, do you got the Hebrew New Testament with you?
Yes, I do. But I'm going to get up for just about 2 minutes.
Okay.
You can continue speaking, but I have it. I have one of them right here. I have a copy of one of them right here.
Okay. Are you able to pull it up or you want me to pull it up?
You can pull it up on the screen. You can share your screen.
Okay,
I'll add it to the screen. In the meantime, I'm gonna ask the Mighty Hebrew to join in. He don't need no introductions and say what he needs to say. But I just gotta step away for about 2 minutes, brothers. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay, I shared the
Shalom.
screen.
Peace.
Hold on, wait. I guess he got
Shalom to the Mr.
Shalom, Mighty Hebrew.
Peace. So Mighty Hebrew, I was the brother you was talking to in the chat. Peace.
Oh, so you can, I didn't know that you can, while you here, you can ask Zion that question because you brought up the Akkadian, but before I go into that, let Judah the Shooter finish where it started at, and then from there, we can, dialogue in that real quick.
That's peace.
Yeah. Yes, I'll go ahead and end with this. Zion, I don't know if you're able to, I put it up there, you gotta, allow it to be shared. You hear me, Zion? Okay, yeah. I put it on the screen. I mean, I put it up there. You gotta allow it, I guess, to allow it to be presented.
Yeah. I'm gonna allow that to present in a moment, but I'm sure that's gonna take a little time for you to go in. So can we just have the Mighty Hebrew come in, say some things, and then King J again, and then the presentation is all yours, good brother.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't gonna be there for like 1 or 2 minutes, but let's go. Okay, good.
Hallelujah. Shalom, Chief. What's up, Chief?
Shalom.
Ain't nothing over here right now in Tanzania. I was just in Damona not too long ago, but I'm back in Tanzania. Keep us in prayer over here. We back on lockdown. I'm pretty sure y'all heard what's going on. It's a lot of political war, a lot of people dying over here. So just keep me and my family in prayer. So we all be back on lockdown again. But there's something that I just want to say to the family and then get real faster with the brother when to ask Zion LEXX, because I was dialoguing with him through the comments. There's no people on the planet that speak a language without vowels. And I asked the question, because I know the research where this came from. There was a man by the name of the late Chief High Priest Ariah that came from out of the old Tanakh school and originally founded something called UPK, Universal Practical Knowledge. Before they was calling it Lashawan Qadash, they was calling it the writing of Ariah. And what he did was he took all the vowels out and said, this is Hebrew. And his whole premise was looking at the Ben Yehuda's pocket dictionary. And he taught that them vowels was Yiddish. That's totally false. If there's a Hebrew community right now that's speaking this Lashawan Qadash as a language, can somebody show me that right now? If there's any Hebrew community, any Hebrew community right now that speak that language, because I live with a Hebrew community. I live in Damona and I live in Tanzania. And you don't hear people saying, what is this Hebrew grammar, or using Strong's concordances. And Judah the Shooter and Zion LEXX to say, I've been saying this for years. The Strong's concordance, they don't translate Hebrew words based on how the Hebrew text was structured and given. They translate it based on how the King James Version was translated. And I want to throw two things out there to Zion. Zion, watch this now. Zion know Hebrew. He know Hebrew better than me. So peep this. The word Qadosh, it means holy. But then if you go and look at a sodomite, it uses a similar word. So if you're saying there's no vowels, nothing, how would we know a Qadosh from being set apart versus a Qadesh being something that is defiled, a sodomite? If there's no vowels, they are both sound the same.
Yeah.
Cain, more right? Are you there, Zion?
I agree with
that.
Yeah,
I'm here. I'm listening to you.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So now the question goes to you, Zion, what me and the brother was talking about. And he can emphasize. He was saying because you was using Akkadian as a base premise to show vowels. My understanding is when you look at the Shemitic languages, that their grammar structure goes back to the Akkadian, which is also a Shemitic language. So why wouldn't we go to the root language from which this was spawned from? Maybe Zion, you can emphasize more on that, because the question and the dialogue we was having inside the chat was pertaining to you using Akkadian as a base premise to show that there was vowel structures in the Hebrew, and that the Mezorites itself, they only just kept something that already been in existence. That concept that them vowels go back to Yiddish, that's a one West argument. Prior to that, you never heard no Hebrew saying that. And maybe the Judah the Shooter, you can emphasize it.
Hey, look, I would say that, hold on real quick. I would say that you're right about that. They're all Northwest Semitic languages. You know, they all have the same linguistic cognates. So for instance, the Ugarit Il, the Hebrew El, right? Same linguistic cognates. So I agree with you with that. My question, and you alluded to it earlier when you spoke about the different sects, right? You said the Masoretic sect, there was a Palestinian sect, there was a Babylonian sect. The Palestinian was different; it had less vowels. You know what I'm saying? Each one it had its own different pronunciation. The Masoretic was just the one that actually just the most popular, I guess. I don't know. That's the one that made it through. I have issues with the Masoretic. And for instance, just Dead Sea Scrolls, Deuteronomy 32:8, we see the sons of Israel instead of Beni Elohim. You know what I'm saying? I think the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint allude to a different translation or pronunciation. When the Ketiv Ivri compared to the Ketiv Ashur Aramaic block script, I would make an argument that is the script that we're using and saying it's a Hebrew script, and they applied the Masoretic Nekuts to that Ketiv Ashur script, not the Ketiv Ivri script that hasn't been used since 600 BC.
Yeah, what's all right. There was some of what you said that I didn't catch, but I'm gonna deal with what I did catch. So, you know, I'm aware that the Septuagint translation in Greek and that the Masoretic texts differ, as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls differ in some respect, but none of them differ to the extent that we're looking at a different doctrine. None of them differ to the extent that we can't follow one because it's just so grossly inaccurate. There are textual variants in various old attested Hebrew manuscripts. There are textual variants between the Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls, but none of the textual variants between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic texts are so different that one should be followed more than the other. The scholarly consensus on that is clear. You may find different spelling, and that's mostly due to Matres Lectionis, the Tiberian vocalization system, where they omit certain vowel letters and use diacritical marks, and that's the main reason why you find a lot of different spelling variations. And then at times you might find theological differences, like what you pointed out, the fact that they say B'nai Elohim in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Masoretic would say B'nai Yisrael. So yeah, you know, things may differ, because same with the Targum. With the Targum translation, there are theological insertions in the actual translation. Anybody who read Targum Yohanatan, you know that he says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He reads it as, with wisdom, God created the heavens and the earth. So sometimes, right. So sometimes you can't help but for some translators to introduce their theological opinion into things. But I want to make something clear. None of the distinctions that exist between those texts are so grossly different that we should say that one is better than the other, because the only attested text of the Hebrew Bible that matches the Masoretic text best is the Dead Sea Scroll text. All right, so I have respect for both of them because I've done study on them. But like yourself, I'm aware of there being textual variance and textual criticism. That's a high level of it's a high level of scholarship to even be aware of those things. So I definitely give you your respect for that.
I appreciate that.
But hold on, Kyle. I hate this position, like, dictating who goes first, because who the hell am I? But to be honest, Judah wanted to share something, so I want to make sure that he gets that out. So Judah, it's on you.
Yeah.
What you wanted to.
I won't be too long because I know brothers want to say, but I just want to kind of back up what you were saying, and also what the mighty Hebrew was saying. So if you look at Sefer Devarim, or the book of Deuteronomy, 23 and 17, it says Lo teyeh kadesha. Mibnot Yisrael, Valo Yeh Kadesh, Mibne Yisrael. So the first part, when we have the word lo, we know is in the negative, no, and then there should not be. Then the word Kadesha, which of course is the word whore. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the word Kadesha, it's kind of what you were talking about earlier. But then we have the word Mibnot, of the daughters, Yisrael of Israel, Valo Yeh, and there should not be. And the word there is the word Kadesh, is what Mighty Hebrew was saying. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely does say that Mibnei Yisrael, you know what I'm saying, the sons of Israel. So you know what I'm saying? I guess I kind of like in it there because I know, brothers want to go ahead and say something. Okay, well, since you pulled it up, I'll end with this then. In Matthew chapter 1, dealing with verse 16, it says, Vayachov holid et Yosef. Ba'al Miriam asher memena nolad Yeshua hanigra Mashiach. So we have here, and Jacob holid, which is the word I actually want to talk about, and the word et, which we know is the word for begat. But then it has the word et, which is, we all know that's a direct object marker. Then it has the word Yosef. Then it goes on to give the relation. It says, Ba'al Miriam, the owner of Mary, asher memena, from whom Nolad was born, Yeshua HaNikra Mashiach, who is called Christ. So when we look at the word Holid, and then we see the word Nolad, that there, one Holid is active and Nolad is passive. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the Hebrew grammar, the grammar tells us the intent and the thought of the author. You know what I'm saying? So we looking at this this active voice, Holid, which would be Jacob begot Joseph. Active, in case somebody don't know, that means the subject is performing the action. You know what I'm saying? Holid, he begat, or he fathered. The subject is Yaakov. The begatting is the action, and the object is Joseph. Now, this is a parallel to the Greek egenesin as well, which is also in the active voice, versus egenete, which is in the Greek, which is in the passive. So the Greek and the Hebrew is in harmony with each other. You know what I'm saying? So, but as I was saying, it's a parallel. So it's the father that's causing the action, straightforward. But the thing I want to focus on is the word nolad. You know, letting them know a child was born of her. You know what I'm saying? So the verb is Binyamin Nifal, which is passive. So nolad equals was born. You know what I'm saying? So now it's on the receiving end, meaning no human father is named. You know what I'm saying? So the subject, which is Yeshua, received the action, and the agent causes the conception, and not the human, and obviously not Joseph or whatnot. So this matches the Greek egenete. I had just did a video on this, going over the Greek grammar, going over the Hebrew grammar, you know what I'm saying, dealing with passive construction, etc. You know what I'm saying? So this passive, it indicates that Yeshua did not have Joseph as what we call the biological father. You know what I'm saying? So whether you believe Joseph is a father or not, the grammar in the Greek language and the grammar in the Hebrew language does not support that. You know what I'm saying? So anybody who has a Hebrew New Testament or have a Greek New Testament, the grammar does not support it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like I wanted to go over, because my brother was talking about grammar, and I'm sure if you want to add something to that, Aki, let me know what your thoughts is on that.
Absolutely. Well, you stated that perfectly. There's nothing to add. There's nothing to add, man. You did that perfectly. Again, as I say, as you know, as anybody that understands the language knows, The work is easy when you're well studied, man. But the problem is, and this is a challenge. I want to humble myself in this moment too, because we're speaking. A lot of us are speaking as elders, people that have been around a long damn time. You know, myself and Mighty Hebrew, you know, we've been around this community for a long damn time. I come in at 1994. You know, that's around the same time as Mighty Hebrew. His teacher that he learned from is also a personal friend of mine. You know, we have similar schools of thought. I would say that we actually come from the same greater community. Our communities are connected. You know, so the moment that we met, we connected like brothers, even though we didn't know each other early on in our experience. We met a little later, but our communities have so much experience, right? So I say that the challenging thing about this conversation and learning Hebrew in general is that if you never really sat down and learned under somebody, but you look at something like this and you look at how proficient brothers are, like yourself, me, Mighty Hebrew, and others, and you say, damn, I'm never going to be that proficient. So what people do now is they take the next best route. I'm going to just act like this is fake Hebrew. I'm going to learn the One West Hebrew. The One West Hebrew is the easiest language in the world to learn.
Yeah.
Ba, ga, da, ha, ha, shata, hata, pata, hata, shala, ah. And then don't forget I.
Yeah. Come on, man. Baby, speak that, man.
Easiest language in the world to learn.
They're going to argue with you, Zion. They're going to be like, that's the first thing babies come out and say.
And then the saddest part about that being the easiest language to learn is that they struggle to read it when you ask them to read it.
Ooh, come on, man. Come on.
Those of us that are skilled in the grammar can read Paleo Hebrew like it's the Tiberian Masoretic text. Easy.
That's a fact.
They be struggling, and all you got to do is with everything. Why is that a struggle?
Right.
Like,
I don't know, Ak.
It's
you know why? You know why, Zion, Chief? You know why it's a struggle? Because it's not a spoken language.
Right.
That's why it's a struggle, because it's not a spoken language, and it's something that you said, and I keep saying this over and over. We gotta go to the Zakwanim or Amorim. We gotta go to teachers. I like how Zion got this whole Hebrew Academy put together. We come from an era where we sat amongst teachers. My first Hebrew language teacher was Robbie Cole Windsor, which is Professor Rudolph R. Windsor's younger brother.
Right.
They're about West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So myself, me, Dr. Moray, Yoel, all of us, we sat under him to learn what y'all consider modern Hebrew. But that argument that the vowels come from Yiddish, that is not true. That's not a true. You will hear people, it's getting so bad that they saying what they speak in the state of Israel is Yiddish. No, it's not. It's Sephardic Hebrew.
The official language in the state of Israel is Sephardic Hebrew.
Yeah, it's Sephardic. So anybody that been to Israel, they would know that. When you go to Dimona, and I've seen, you know, the Moray, the Rabbi on here, he had Ambassador Azriel Amor on here, and different brothers from the community in Dimona. Everybody speak fluent Hebrew. Nobody have strong concordances. When we have Torah studies and stuff like that, you don't see nobody with no strong concordances. You don't see none of that. People that speak Hebrew, they don't deal with that. And I just want to chime into when the brother was speaking about the Masoretic verse, the Dead Sea Scrolls, when one that say B'nai Yisrael and the other one that say B'nai Elohim. We understood as Israelites that the children of Israel were the sons and daughters of Elohim. So that right there is not really you know, I'm not saying you making it as an argument, but as the Moray said, you know, you have some people that might have certain understandings, but the premise is still there. Like in the beginning of Bereshit, you'll see people translating in the beginning was wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Then you have people that are translate in the beginning, he created Elohim. Stuff like that. So you might have.
So the Bereshit bara Elohim, what part of that are they saying is wisdom? Is that just theological?
The part that they're saying is wisdom is Bereshit, right? When you go to the book of Mishli, Proverbs, King Solomon says a dozen times. King Solomon says a dozen times, Reshit Chokmah. Reshit Chokmah, beginning is wisdom, beginning is wisdom. So because of that theological teaching that the beginning and wisdom is essentially the same thing, because they are theologically a starting point, that's what led to the interpretation that Bereshit can also be understood as with beginning. By the way, you literally find that in the Psalms. With wisdom, God created the heavens and the earth. That's in the Psalms. So anybody interpreting that as per our tradition, they're not doing something that's not already in the scriptures.
Yeah. And to add to what the mighty Hebrew was saying about I think one of y'all mentioned about the Sephardic Hebrew. If anybody don't know, you have Ivrit, Sephardit, you know what I'm saying? And that's the Hebrew pronunciation tradition that was preserved by the Jews of Spain, I believe Portugal, Africa, etc. And so that's where he's actually getting at. And last but not least, it's kind of, I want to kind of back up what Zion was saying earlier, even though he don't need no backup, but you know what I'm saying? When you understand grammar, it keeps you from understanding false doctrines, ladies and gentlemen. It really protects you from that, you know what I'm saying? Because therefore you go back into the mindset and the intent of the author, the way that the author wrote it, you know what I'm saying? Not some so-called breakdown, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I was explaining what I was explaining with the Matthew 1. And last but not least, even when you go into the Greek, when you go into the Greek New Testament, you know what I'm saying? And in Matthew 1:16, in the Greek it says, Iakov de egenesin, Sintov Yosef ton andra Marias, exes egenete, Iesus ha legamenas Christos. So when you look at this, the same thing is the same pattern. We can see the egenesin for begat is in the active voice. And then you have the Greek word. Can
I pause you for one moment? Mm-hmm. I don't want to give you your flowers, but I want to give you your respect. Yeah. You just spoke Greek just now, correct?
Cain.
You see how this works?
Yeah.
I know Hebrew. I know Aramaic, right? I know Hebrew. I know Aramaic. I could read Medonecha. I don't know Greek, so I should be coming to learn from you or someone in the community that knows it. You see how easy that is? I don't have to listen to you say it and then 3 weeks from now study it a little bit and then fake like I know it a year from now. That's what's happening, man. Like just learn from the people that know these things. Why people are filled with so much pride.
And it was and you spoke it with such a flow, man. I'm over here speaking, you know, listening to you, and you spoke it with a flow. And I want to say to everybody, I see people watching. Mumbo, kaka, mumbo, da. So we got brothers here that speak Swahili, Hebrew, Arabic, Greek.
I think we all, especially among those of us that have been around the scholars and even some of our newly emerging scholars, we all have a skill set that others may not have. Nobody knows everything. So I may have a skill set that you don't have, and you not even may. I have a skill set that many don't have. You guys have skill sets that many don't have. When we all come together like we're doing right now as a think tank, nobody's moving us. Period. And it's game over. All that stuff is done. We locking it down. But the problem is the clashing in egos, because now I can't really join with him because they're gonna think that I'm like him and he's like me, and then they got an option now. So it's stupid because there's 12 tribes of Israel. The Creator wanted all these different conglomerates to come together because he sort of strengthened our unity. We don't understand that. I have no problem falling in line if I think someone is better, character, oral, or intellectually. I have no problem doing that. Most people can't say that. Most people can't say that.
Zion, LEXX taught me something. Listen, I got to tell you something you taught me, Zion. Listen, when you went in and started studying Medunetta, right? And I told Sinetta this a long time ago, maybe like 8 years ago. I said, maybe 8, 9 years ago. I said, yo, when Zion mastered that Medunetta, he's going to destroy you, like real bad. And the reason why, because you already know Hebrew. But let me tell you what Zion taught me. Now, y'all all know I'm Torah Center. Everybody know that. One of the teachings that come out of the Torah Center community is that, and even throughout Israel, that the letter J came in the 15th century, right? Okay. We all taught that. We all taught that. I taught that for many years. But when Zion LEXX, went and studied Meruneta and showed that there was a J in the Meruneta, I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? And then when I'm over here in Africa, so I've been to 17 African countries. So I'm on the ground studying a lot of anthropological research on the Israelites being scattered throughout Africa. And I'm noticing just in Tanzania alone, you have 125 tribes, and each tribe have their own dialect, and then the national language is Swahili. But what's funny about it, in many of the dialects, like the Pare and the Chaga, guess what? They got a J in their language. So to say that the J came in the 15th century, that's false. When there was a J, when the J sound was already there throughout Africa thousands of years before the Europeans even invented the so-called J. That's all I wanted to say. That was some dope research, Zion, and I immediately put up a post like I was incorrect. And to say all that, when you incorrect about something as teachers, which we're intensified students, we gotta tell the people where we in error at, so that people don't continue to make errors. So the Rabah Moray for that inspiration and that insight about the letter J.
I'm gonna say one last thing before I go. I gotta go ahead and get off it. What do you want to say something to him? Because I want to say my last little remarks, and I'm gonna go ahead and dip on off.
I just wanted to say Toda Rabah in response to that, in response to what he's saying. Listen, man, ain't nobody gotta come up here and be fake, y'all. We saying what we saying because we being very real, not because of the moment, because it's what we really feel. More teachers in the community, more leaders need to come together like this. Again, the problem is everybody trying to be the HNIC. In this respect, I mean the head Hebrew in charge, and that stuff is played out. It's old. It's the reason why we didn't get it in the old times. It's the reason why we're still not getting it today. Rather than humble ourselves and say we don't know, people go and study privately and then act like they've been knowing. And then because you're studying privately and you're not interacting with people that really know, you're coming up with a lot of errors.
Yeah.
And then you start to act like these errors is the real deal. And even when you find out for yourself that the error is an error, you find a way to still validate it. So now you're lying to people.
Don't catch
you actually lying. When I tell you, a lot of people that call themselves leaders and teachers go up there weekly, whether it's from their congregation, their pulpit, their street lessons, and at a certain point they go lying. There's a lot of them, yo. There's a lot of them, but the lie is profitable when the community is indoctrinated under that lie. Yeah.
So I guess kind of on the ending point where I was at with it, I was saying how you know what I'm saying, this is showing how even from a different language it backs.
Hold on. Oh. My apologies. But I know I saw Deacon in the comments. Come up, good brother. I know I saw Hassad in the comments. Come up, good brothers. Listen, man, doctrinal differences aside, when Israel come together, we will smack anything moving. We will knock down anything moving. We got to get to that level where it doesn't matter that we have different doctrines. So long as our doctrinal difference is not taking us away from the Torah, which is leading us to the Creator, then I could believe that a person is the Messiah, and you could disagree with that. You could believe that a particular person is not the Messiah, and I could disagree with that. But we could both agree on what this Torah says, and we could both work our hardest to come together and get that right. The Messiah, when he comes, the last thing he will say to any of us is, "My son, thou knew it was I." Oh, you got a special place in heaven because thou knewest it was I. No, you're not getting cool points because somehow you figured out who the Messiah is. You get cool points because you kept the charge and you kept the guard the whole time. That's what's happening. So I'm gonna throw the link to the StreamYard again. I would love to see our brothers Hassad. I would love to see Deacon Hakar. My apologies, brothers. Do continue.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll end with the last part. I was saying, if y'all was here from the beginning, Zion Lex, he did stress about grammar. So what I was doing was I was going to even showing you that even in the Greek language, it backs up what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at the Matthew 1:16 again, it says, Yaakov de Egenesin, Sinton, Yosef ton Andra Marias, Exe Egenete, Jesus ha Legamenas Christas. So the first part, when we look at Yaakov, which is we know is Joseph, of course, Jacob, of course. So hold on, wait, listen. Okay, cool. So we got Yaakov de Egenesin. The word there is the word for begot. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when you look at begot versus the word, which is in the active voice, then you have the word egenesin, which is in was born. You get some people who don't understand the language. You know what they do? What they'll do is, if you look at in the Strong's Concordance, I think it might say G1080, and the root word there would be ganeo. So you'll get a person says, well, it does say Joseph begat Christ. If you go into the Greek language and they'll try to pull up in the Strong's Concordance and don't realize you got the inflected word and then you have the root word. So you got a lot of people that are arguing over the root word and not looking at the actual inflected word that's actually within the text. And then we ask them, well, it's the same root word, but why is it one says egenesin and the one says egenete? And why do we see it in Codex Vaticanus, Codex Sinaiticus? Why do we see it in Textus Receptus? We can see this within the Greek text. But last but not least, when we look at the birth, it's always in the passive voice when dealing with Matthew 1:16. So now it's like when you look at this, dealing with this topic, you always got to remember that when we look at Matthew 1:16, it's going to always be in the passive voice and never in the active voice. So last but not least, when you look at grammar exposes the it tells us the intent and the thought of the actual author. You know what I'm saying? So when we use a concordance, we have to learn how to use the concordance correctly. You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on that, Zion?
Before I share my thoughts, we got a juggernaut that just entered the building. Shout out to Priest Hakar. Genesis is in the building.
Genesis.
Let's go. Let's go.
Man, first and foremost, all praise to the Most High. Good to be here, man. And it's from what we've been going through for the last few weeks with our doctrinal changes. And like the mighty Hebrew said, you got to get back out here to Hilltop too, brother. 253 in the building. Tag Town. But like mighty Hebrew said, it takes a lot of courage, sincerity, and genuineness to approach your millions, hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of supporters and people learning under your tutelage to come and say, you know what? We were wrong on that. We didn't get that right. And like Zion said, people love the lie. And the lie is profitable. I like that. I'm going to use that Friday, Lord willing. The lie is profitable if the community is indoctrinated. The lies are profitable if the community is indoctrinated. So at this point of, my ministry, my journey with the Most High, I am not ashamed to come out here and say, we didn't see that right. We should have studied ourselves, and instead of just perpetuating the traditions of the elders that taught us and having so much faith and trust in these men who we looked at as to be infallible. And so there's two parties that are both wrong here. That's the elders for perpetuating this some falsehood, and then that's also us not studying to show ourselves approved. So yeah, I definitely feel embarrassed about a few points my brother Zion made, and I'm looking more to study to show myself approved, look into the language, look into these. I'm very good at textual criticism and the composition and the transmissions, but understanding the actual language is another thing. So I'm excited. Friday, I'm gonna have to say, look, Friday I'm gonna make my decision. No, I'm joking. I am excited. I am excited for Friday, though. I'm excited.
One thing I think that this would be dope, if our community could be more humble, like you said, and accept correction, edification. What's funny, Deacon and Priest Akar, we all teach among our congregation, among our community, among our following. We all teach that edification is good. Yet among the leadership, edification is good until I need to be edified. Then it's not good. Edification is cool until I'm the one that is on the receiving end, of that edification. So most people is just full of it, you know what I mean, to keep it real. But I want to say something that's funny, but also real, man. I wanted to see this day come where we could change our views on the language, because to be honest, being somebody that's been studying for so long and just knowing that it's just so problematic, the One West, I'm glad to see this day. Also, it rings my hairs when I hear names like Tazariak and Contazar. I'm sorry, I just had to say that, but go ahead.
Hey, look, just real quick. Hey, look, just real quick. I want to say this. Hey, look, when we learn the language and understand the language and the grammar, anybody that's listening, it's going to make you go back and question a lot of the so-called doctrine that you've been taught. You know what I'm saying? Because Hebrew and Greek is very intentional. You know what I'm saying? So Greek does more ways with expressing than Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? But Hebrew is very intentional. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what you believe, you can't get around the grammar. The grammar is what's going to destroy the doctrines that you may have believed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm gonna disagree slightly, Judah.
Where?
And that's okay, because I know we can do that among brothers. There's nothing personal about that. And here's why I say, and I know you weren't fully saying this, but I'm gonna also say this because there's always someone that's not understanding, right? There's only but so far the language barrier gets in understanding the text. Because watch this.
Yes.
The whole first century Common Era Jews read Hebrew, read Aramaic, and there was still difference in doctrines.
Okay.
We can't say that the Jews that accepted Christ didn't know Hebrew, didn't understand Hebrew grammar, which is what a lot of Old Testament Israelites speak. Oh, y'all don't understand the grammar. That's why y'all accept the Mashiach.
Yeah.
Them dudes that accepted Christ, the Messiah, Jesus, Yeshua, they know Hebrew and Aramaic better than anybody in this room right now.
Hey, look, and you're right. Look,
all the way real.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I guess I'm coming more so from like your modern perspective on people who don't, and as they come into it, they'll begin to question what they've been taught. It's more so coming from that.
The interpretation of the text is a matter of understanding our culture, our history, and the language. The language plays a great role, but that ain't it. We could be on the same page with the language and have horrible understanding. Shout out to Paradigm, because they're pretty good in Hebrew, but they are horrible in interpreting the scriptures.
And it's funny to say that, because for example, when we look at the New Testament, if you just know Greek without understanding the Hebraic thought pattern behind it, you'll be in trouble. So what you said, hey, look, hey, you right, you right.
Also to chime in, you could be in the state of Israel, Israel, and people over there, they speak Ivrit, but they don't be, many of them don't have no understanding of Tanakh, Torah, nor the New Testament. So just because you can speak Hebrew, if you don't have the Hebrew thought, then that's the problem. But I wanted to chime into Brother Genesis real quick, and shout out to the 253. You know what I'm saying? Give a shout out to, all my comrades in Federal Way, Tacoma, Washington. I done a lot while I was out there, bringing a lot of the Israelites together, you know what I'm saying? But I want to say something to you, and it's not to be in disagreement, but just to, I see this thing that y'all going back and forth with salvation for the Gentile. And I just want to give just a brief synopsis of maybe it should be looked at more of a geopolitical stance. Now, I know from a religio standpoint, us coming from out of Christianity and different walks of life, when we speak about salvation given unto the Gentiles, we speak of it more or less like in the conversion sense. Verse, if we look at the Torah as our constitution and the Israelite nation as the governing body politic, would you agree somewhat that salvation for the Gentile will only be when Israel is a self-autonomy, controlling their own demarcation stations, and then these Gentiles or Goyim can come amongst us and be Israelite citizens, not Israelite nationals, but Israelite citizens by the way of naturalization. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Versus a conversion. Because when you go to other nations, you can't just go to Japan and convert to be Japanese. Or you can't just come to Tanzania and convert to be Tanzania. They have laws that they have to, that you have to naturalize yourself and go through the process of becoming naturalized. Would you look at salvation for the Gentiles being a form of naturalization in the Israelite community versus conversion?
That's a fact. That's a fact. We got to bring back protocol. If I disagree with something that Priest Hakar is teaching online, I should be able to reach out to him directly before I have a YouTube video. It's crazy that some of us be like, yo, that's the Ak, that's my brother. And then they see me teach something online or see me say something, publicly. And before they reach out to me, which they can, there's a video up. That's crazy. Where they do that at? We remember the old One West, right here in New York. The Nabi, the guy that used to rap the Turbans, you know him by name, Mighty Hebrew. I forgot his name. Panamanian brother. Yaakov, Nazi Yaakov. Right. He would go to the old One West and would build with Abba Bibbins. A lot of people don't remember that Abba Bibbins was a Tanakh dude. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people forget that. Of course. And our two communities used to build a lot, the old and new. That separation came a little bit after he died, like circa the 70s and the 80s. That's when that real separation came. But the Old Testament community, which was predominantly based in Brooklyn, would always come out to Harlem and vice versa. And then we also had a base in Chicago, the El Rukins, the Israelites in Chicago and all that. We had, you know that history. So I'm saying that that doesn't have to be a period, good brothers. We could add a comma to that. We can continue that. We could continue having relationships cross communities among the leadership, and that trickles down to the people. Every difference don't gotta be a YouTube video, man. And it's gonna take us that got real, genuine hearts, that don't care about fame, fortune, all that dumb stuff, but really, really want to see Israel make it, really want to bust some heads that come for the Bible. If we can get our stuff together and make sure that when we disagree, we try to keep it as in-house as we possibly can, so long as the issue is not morals and ethics. Morals and ethics got to be exposed. I'm sorry. But doctrinal difference, homeboy, call me before you do a video. Why you got 8 videos against me and I thought me and you was cool? That's weird behavior. That's not how brothers move. So I would like to see among our leadership that just like how we doing this here, why we can't meet a couple times a year, do a lecture together, or have conversations together. That way that helps to build a community, yo. The Israelite community can be repaired, but we have to want to repair this, man. We got to.
Yeah, I believe we still got a chance. We got a chance. As long as we all got oxygen and the spirit of the Most High in us, we have a chance to make this community better and to progress instead of staying stagnant and antiquated. So I'm pushing for that, as I believe to be younger than, of course, the elders who've been in this thing. I do consider myself still in my youth, right? But I have men under me, half my age, and we want to leave what the elders failed to do, which they did a great job with the resources and utensils that they had at their time. What they did fail to do is set up successors under them. So it's our job from my age is to set up successors under us and say, you know what, I want to teach these young brothers every single thing I know, not keep things to myself to where I'm deifying myself as the one with the mystical knowledge and they got to go through me. I'm now the doorway and the pathway to get these esoteric breakdowns. No, everything the Most High gives, we put it back into our congregation, into our community, into our nation. So the differences, like the brother Zion said, the differences of doctrine, if it's not moral issues, then that can be handled behind the scenes. So what we've been trying to do lately is, okay, all the camp leaders that have an issue with this Gentile salvation doctrine, hit us up privately. We would love to deal with this publicly because demonstration is better than conversation. So we would love to deal with it publicly. But before anybody says, oh, you just want to embarrass me or destroy me and make me look bad, we've been trying to have these, isolated behind the scene phone calls about doctrine. Now, if we can't get a hold of somebody who is cloud chasing and using our name and name, image, and likeness for their to grow their platform, then there's nothing else for me to do except for respond with a video. But that's not what we want to do. So I'm obliged. I'm ecstatic. The Most High is doing something new in the community. And once you get somebody like us who are coming from One West to cross and build the bridge in this gap, then I believe a lot more camps will follow suit and understand that there's some people, it's so blood and cripping over here in One West that if we don't deal with congregations outside of One West, we were calling you guys house niggas and saying we were the field niggas. It's so blood and cripping and political over here at One West that it's taboo to even be on here talking to you, brothers, having a good time, chilling, talking wisdom, knowledge, and understanding.
Facts.
So that's what we want to break down.
Hell yeah, man. Facts. Listen, man, if anybody wants to join the live stream, you can. This is one of those rare moments where I'm definitely willing to thug it out a little bit and have a live stream a little longer than usual. Again, the aim of my presentation is not to expose Shar Ariala. You know what I'm saying? I'm having fun with the presentation because it just so happens that a lot of our people in the metrics of 2025, they don't lock in unless they can laugh and joke. So sometimes you got to make the education entertaining. So that's what that was about. But good brother Shah, it's nothing personal. I got tough skin. I know you do too. We men, you know what I'm saying? If me and Priest Hakar can be on the same live stream, knowing that, we used to trade words back in the day. The fact that we used to trade words back in the day, myself and Priest Hakar, but it was never too crazy. Why we can't come together, man? I think some of these men aren't really men, to be honest. To be brutally honest, because men.
No, they're men. They're just yes men.
Yeah, yes men, man. Like I feel like men gonna fight. That's what men do. Men, when we disagree, somebody might get punched, somebody might get snuffed, somebody might get their, their snot box rocked. It happens. We men, but as men, we should be able to wipe that blood and come back together. People that still harboring feelings and I'm upset. To me, that's girly stuff. That's not how men move. And we need the restoration of the men back in Israel. Women are being women. We need the men to be goddamn men.
Okay.
I'm not still mad at nobody for anything that happened in the past. The past is the past. And if I could quote the New Testament, somebody gonna be upset by this. How many times should I forgive my brother?
70 times 7.
So if you understand that asking the Creator for forgiveness is null and void if you don't have forgiveness for your brother, then there's no reason why we can't always come back to the drawing board so long as nobody drew the line morally and ethically. A lot of us is cutting people off because of doctrines. Meanwhile, y'all got rapist uncles hanging around the crib and y'all still saluting them.
Come on now. Yeah. You're right.
Sound like he's saying. It sounds like he's saying somebody got to set you up.
Yeah. Listen, man. I'll be down to come on any of you brothers' podcasts. Y'all ever want me to join, man? I would love to come on.
I need that.
I would love to come on any topic. With me, I always tell people, ask me anything. Just don't talk about my family. I'm very guarded about my personal life. But, doctrine and all that, I'm with. There's no question that's off the table. No, I don't want no pre-answers. I want an organic conversation. Don't hit me with, I'm going to send you a list of the questions. Nah, ask me on the spot. Know that I know my stuff. I got people that come on here with all due respect, and I'm not disrespecting those of you that did it, but I still need to speak my truth. there's a lot of respectable leaders and teachers in the community that I was surprised when they was like, yo, you're gonna hit me with the questions so I could know what you're gonna say. And I'm like, damn, don't you know what you know?
Right.
I like organic conversation.
Freestyle.
Like, y'all want to be rehearsed? Oh, come
Zion,
on.
you remember when you interviewed me about the when I think we had a conversation with the two-part joint about Yeshua, about more Yeshua volume 3, right?
Right.
It wasn't we didn't prepare it, nothing. It just he was just coming. What about this? What about that? What about this? What about this? We from the old school, so everything got to be on cap. But I want to say something since my brothers is here. Y'all, I gotta be frank with my brothers. You know what I mean? We got to support more of the things that we doing on the ground. Like right now, as y'all know, I got the ancient band, and I want to thank Most High for the work that He called me to do. But I wouldn't be able to do it without the strength of the Most High and the people supporting. And we got the ancient band through Hebrew Israelite Awareness Center here. We have, the farmhouse, the guest house. I want to give a shout out to Professor James Small. He made a contribution, some months ago. He's going to come visit us over here. But to the family that's on the panel, right now, I know y'all know what's been going on because of the political strife over here in Tanzania. The United States Embassy had contacted all foreigners over here. So we're basically locked down because they've been protesting. Over 3,200 people been slaughtered, within the past 3 weeks. So we have to have supplies and things like that. We can't even go to the market. We have to get like a special boater driver to, get the stuff for us, bring it. So if y'all can contribute, Brother Zion, any of y'all to the cause, it's much needed over here. You know what I mean? It'll help us to maintain water, gasoline, and stuff like that.
I will definitely help to spread that word. If you can, you know how we can reach out, you know what I mean? Just send the complete info, and I will definitely help to spread that word. Guys, I gotta definitely shout out this brother again. This brother is a really good brother because whenever he's on a platform, he contributes on multiple levels. And I know that there's always somebody thinking, man, why he giving them money, man? He was just giving me money. Nah. If we had more brothers like this, man, we'd have a greater community. Support shouldn't just be that these are my guys and I mess with them. Support should be, I want to see the community grow. And financial resources help us to grow, man. So big shout out to the brother. I call him Moray Troublemaker. But, he's a very good brother, man. I love that brother. Thank you once again for your donation and your contribution. And to all the brothers on the panel, man, we could get it right. We got this, man. We got this. Another brother entered the chat. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Tell us, whatever he would like to go into, and then, it's up from there.
Shalom, brothers. How y'all doing on the panel?
Shalom.
Okay. Let's go. Shalom.
To the Most High. I was just checking it out. My brother Judah Moshe sent me a link, and I said, let me, see what's going on with the brothers and stuff like that. I love the discussions on the language. Beautiful topic. A lot of truth that Israel needs to know. A lot. I want to give my flowers to a lot of the elders that came before us. And we had some great teachers. And I visited the One West school several times back in the day, back in the 90s, and seeing some of the elders teach there and so forth. But I think that it's good to see that we got brothers on the panel that understand the need for growth and and Israel's need to move forward in the land. A big part of that. So thank you for sharing a lot of jewels with the Brother Zion to the people concerning the importance of the language. I know Brother Judah Moshe, he does the same for the language. And, I think if Hebrews focus more on the things where we do agree, unless it's a salvation issues, I can understand saying, well, hey, I can't walk with that. But if these things are not salvation issues, I think we should learn to be more patient and more understanding as a family. And Priest Haka, shout out to you for standing up for the truth. You stood for the truth.
I'm getting crucified, huh?
Brother, I got crucified for Hebrew.
Okay.
I got crucified for trying to restore the language. I got crucified for trying to restore the name of the Most High. I got crucified. I was Torah only community. They crucified me for believing in the Messiah. You know, it's part of the walk. You know, if we hey, shalom out here, Toda. If we're faithful to endure persecution for the sake of Messiah, then he gonna find us faithful to rule with him. So, like, you know, those are things that kind of got me through some of them hard times. But I commend you for standing up. You know, I got a brother Gentile named Cornelius, and he's a Gentile that's been keeping the law with us for almost 10 years. And, you know, and I'm still trying to work to build him up to build the Gentiles up, you know. But I understand that the need for our own distinct groups as Hebrews, aside from them, but certain times of the year we should all, especially I think it's the Feast of Tabernacles, we're all supposed to fellowship together in Zechariah 14, the Yehudim, the Israelites.
Peace to my Titans family. Powerful show. Powerful deal between the brothers, Zion LEXX. Great topic. So I want to open the panel up. I didn't want to give too much. They still had a couple more hours to go. But you can go check them out on this platform. But the panel is open. The link is in the chat. So I'm going to let this play for a little while. And you can comment. We can recap. We can go over what we saw. Or any other things you want to talk about, or any other comments you might have. Link is in the chat. The link is in the chat. It's an open panel. Anybody want to come on, comment, give their opinion about the video we saw today? Peace, Sabio. Did you get a chance to see the presentation by Zion?
Nah, I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
Zion who? Which Zion?
Zion LEXX.
Nah. I saw some of it.
Okay.
Garfield was talking about it earlier, but I didn't see it myself. You know, I don't really be watching stuff like that.
Right.
About the Lashawan Qadash, whatever that shit is.
The language, yeah, grammar. Yeah. Some Hebrew stuff. I know you deal with Hebrew, but you know, I know you're more into the history and politics for sure.
Yeah, I'm more into the history. I'm not into the business. Like, if people want to steal a culture, they can steal the culture. I don't know what they're supposed to do with it after they stole it, after they steal it. But, and I don't know how they're going to steal it. That doesn't make sense, but somehow it makes sense to them. So, let's do it. Don't tell me I'm no people.
Yeah, it was.
That's the only thing that I don't appreciate. To try to make everybody's family be those people.
Exactly. To me, it's more like if you want to, you know, the ideology, that's fine, but don't when you try to like attach yourself to like a bloodline lineage, I think you're going a little too far.
Right.
But then they'll try to argue that, you know, West Africa, those are Hebrews, the Fulani and all the different tribes on the coast. They'll make that argument.
Right. And we know good and well those people aren't. Like, how you gonna tell those people tell us our people were something that got there in a certain time? Like, what is going on with you?
You know, with no proof of migration. And that's something that I've actually looked at. Like, okay, well, is there any, you know, proof of migration from like Egypt or for even Egypt? Like, I would never, like, I'm a big Egypt fan, but I would never say I have Egyptian bloodline, you know, unless I know I did. You know what I'm saying? But like, I can't trace myself back to the pharaohs.
I wouldn't like. Egypt is a great empire, but there's so many other great civilizations in Africa besides Egypt that and Egypt is only talked about because that's the one that was pushed. If other empires of Africa was pushed like Egypt was, then we would talk about those empires.
Yeah. And we know
Egypt.
We know so little about Kush.
So little about Merowe.
Yeah. Do you know if that script is even deciphered there? What is the Meroitic script?
Yeah, they said it was. Okay. You know, I don't see any of that stuff like that though.
Right.
It's the demonic, erratic, and all that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good presentation by the brother today. It's been a lot of people have been replaying it, so you know.
Right.
Yeah.
What you think about it?
I agree, but then I agree, but like once again, it's just really comes down to pronunciation. I mean, we know there's only so many vowels, A, E, I, or U. They can only say so. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can only say one of them anyway. But it's like you cherry picking because but the vowel placement does change the word, and that's the argument. You know what I'm saying? I think it goes like they're saying like everything ends with an ba, ga, da. You know what I'm saying? So that they're saying that's incorrect. So I would agree with that. I would agree. They're saying they basically made it up. Or the feminine root, the I is all. If you're ending all your words in the I, you're ending all your words in the feminine root, which is basically what he said. You call it everything is a female. You know what I'm saying? So it made sense. It's in the grammar. So I definitely agree with him. Yeah. Language is fun.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Take some time. No, I'm not a linguistics, but I definitely do appreciate you know what I'm saying? A good one. For real. Samuel, so what's your field of study like? Tell me a little bit about you. We you know, you've been around for a while. Like what is your field of study? Like what's tell us a little bit about Sabia.
I'm a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school for history.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of psychology and a little bit of philosophy, mixed in with some sociology,
Mm-hmm.
mainly history. I was mainly focusing on becoming a history teacher.
What's your favorite time period of history?
Our development here
in America.
Yep.
So how was you? So what do you think about that? So you talking about like from slavery to now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Do you have any books that you've written, or like in the process of writing, or any journals or anything?
Nah.
Not yet.
Nah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm learning that you got to write it down. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's your perspective, and that's what really all history is a perspective, a revisionist viewpoint. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with you. That's if you don't understand history. That's why you would history like that. A revisionist perspective. No one's revising anything. Talking about what actually happened. What we're doing is we're trying to accumulate the best information available, the best data available, and let that data speak for itself.
Right.
And let the data tell its own story. Because that's what history tells its own story. And if we write history, then that's revisionism right there. Rewriting what history is actually saying. That's revisionism.
And I agree. And that's what it's so hard to, when you do that, that's called contextualism, right? And when you take it out of its proper context, when you look at it from, modern, viewpoint, kind of like, which is hard not to do,
But see, when you appreciate what happened, and you understand how what happened led to where we are, to the present, then you will understand why history is important and how to use history appropriately.
So we have to ask that question, why then, right?
We have to ask all those questions. Why, what, when, where, who. We have to ask all those questions in order to fully understand it. Because if we don't, then at that point we can that's where the guesses and the mix-ups come, because now you can force anything you want into the story. You can force mythology into the story. And made up history and like that, because you're not actually asking the right questions. You're arguing with the answer that you want to have. If you leave with the answer that you want to have, then what's the point of asking the question?
So you started with the intellectual fallacy.
Yeah, that's what most people start with. They start with intellectual fallacy.
So if you start with the fallacy, well, I mean, you can end up with the correct conclusion, but 9 times out of 10, normally you're not.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, you're not.
Yeah, I just recently learned that, as far as like, contextualizing things and how that distorts history, and historians have been actually fighting for that for the longest. You know what I'm saying? Lynn Hunt has some good work in regards to that. Put you up, Savio. Man, what else we got? Like almost 3.5 hours. So I've been yeah.
Well, do your thing, bro.
I'm probably finna close it out in a minute. I didn't see too many people jumping on, so I think we probably jump back on here later. So I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes. I'm gonna play some music and I'm gonna close out. You want to close out? Say anything before I do close out?
Nah, that's it. Peace.
All right, for sure. Peace.
Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down, don't lay down when we stomp it. This the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down, don't lay down when we stomp it. This the clash of the titans. In a dimension where infinity gauntlet is a mere toy compared to the intellectual prowess build and destroy the cipher. Intellectual sword to slice you or whatever device you recommend. Surgical precise pen, hand get heated, the room will spin. If man get treated, them goals gon' spin. Level heads with feet, paradigm the box you in. Got a pair of dimes in the box you in. Don't matter paradigm, see a clock won't spin. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we're stopping. It's the clash of the tigers. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomping. It's the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or
What's up, Titans family? And with that final comprehensive recap from the master of analysis, Zion LEXX, the gates of the Titans debate coliseum swing shut on another colossal showdown. With an absolutely epic class of intellect we witnessed today, Zion's summary showed us exactly where the decisive blows were landed and where the key lines were drawn on the arena floor. Thank you, Zion, for perfectly capturing the essence of today's battle. A massive thank you to our phenomenal debaters for their courage, their commitment to the truth, and for giving us a performance for ages. Before we go, you can always review Zion LEXX's full analysis and highlights on today's fight on his website. And don't forget to tell us who you thought won the battle between Silky and Bantu. So vote now on our official poll using the Titans Coliseum hashtag. The arguments may be over for now, but the conversation is just beginning. Join us next time in King Jay's chamber at the Titans Debate Coliseum. Peace.
Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomp it. This the clash of the titans. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we stomp it. This the clash of the titans. In a dimension where infinity gauntlet is a mere toy compared to the intellectual prowess build and destroy the cipher. Intellectual sword to slice you or whatever device you recommend. Surgical, precise pen. Hand get heated, the room will spin. If man get treated, them goons gon' spin. Level heads with feet, paradigm the box you in. Got a pair of dimes in the box you in. Don't matter, paradigm, paradigms, your clock won't spin. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the gauntlet. Get down or lay down when we're stopping. It's the clash of the tigers. Hear the sounds of the trumpets. Start the rounds in the